Preface of Modern Monologues by Marjorie Benton COOKE. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Preface. The present-day interest in monologues, which has prompted the publication of this little book, seems to warrant a foreword of comment. The monologue is a character study in little, the apotheosis of a chosen individuality. It may be simply a rough sketch, or it may be a finished miniature. It depends entirely upon the monologist. 3 things seem to be essential to a successful monologist. First, the power of keen observation. The man who intends to characterize must be a student of character. He must find a new text and a new chapter in every streetcar and on every street corner. In the second place, he must be able to impersonate, to sink his own personality completely in that of the character he wishes to represent. He must, by walk, expression, intonation, and gesture, become that character. In the third place, he must be able to make an audience understand the unspoken half of the conversation, and he must have the ability to make the one character he delineates typical of a whole class. All the character studies in this book are intended to be spoken by one person, although the monologue form is not always retained. In some of the sketches, the reader is required to do double duty and impersonate 2 speakers, which necessitates, of course, complete change of character. No definite rules can be insisted upon as to the best method of presenting monologues. All the little studies in this book have stood the test of trial before varied audiences. The successful rendition of them must be left to the discretion of the reader. MBC. End of preface.
Sketch number 1 of Modern Monologues by Marjorie Benton COOKE. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Stage directions and role of Gwendolyn Phillips, read by Linda Olsen Fitak, Los Angeles. Sketch number 1. Cupid plays coach. Scene: the porch of a golf club. The men and girls are having tea. There are a tea table and a chair at one side of the porch. Time: afternoon of the annual women's tournament. Enter Gwendolyn Phillips, winner of the cup. Gwen speaks. "Hello, everybody. You beat me in, didn't you?" Takes off hat and jabs imaginary pins through it. "Well, I had to stop and talk to everyone I met. That's the bother with being a babbler." Looks from one to another in surprise. "What's this? What's all this?" "Oh, nonsense. I mean, oh, thank you. But talk about my luck, not my victory. It's all luck in golf." Nods toward girl at tea table. "Yes, I will have some tea, thanks. Just put everything in it." Motions to man. No, don't get up. I don't want to sit down. I'd much rather sit back here and swing my feet as no perfect lady would ever do." Perches on porch rail. "Pass over my tea, will you, Dickie Todd?" Takes teacup from him. "Much obliged. That looks nice, and tastes better. Funny thing about luck, isn't it? Some days my little god of luck just seems to sit on the tip-top of every club I've got. I simply can't miss the ball, not if I try. Just make my arms go, and he does the rest." Sips tea. "Tell you something secret, everybody. I'd never think of going into a match, like today's for instance, without burning 2 fat sticks of Japanese incense before my god of luck." She sips her tea. "Pagan, did you say, Dickie Todd?" "Of course I'm a pagan. We all are." "Nonsense." "Why, we are. We all bow down before idols of some sort." "Oh, there are lots of kinds, Dickie. Wood, brass, and stone. As for you, my son, I think we all know the size, shape, and complexion of your idol." Suggestive glance toward girl at the tea table. so you needn't cast any pebbles at mine. Very good tea, Mabel. Goes and deposits her cup on table. No, not just now, thanks. You come out and let me spill the tea. Oh, come on. I'll drink more than all the rest of you, so it will just save time. That's right. She sits at tea table. Won't you have a cup yourself, dear? How will you have it? 2 sugars? And a lemon? Excuse the fingers. Hands her cup. Anybody else ready? Well, what did you go around in, Margaret? Did you really? Good for you. What did you do wee drop in? You don't say. I give you my word of honour. I never worried over anything in my life as I did over that hole. I've tried for it all night long in my dreams for 2 mortal weeks. Those awful dreams, you know, that couldn't come true. I always seem to be swinging my club, and yet I never hit the ball. Then I open my eyes and I see it speeding off toward the 5th, and I know I must have missed the 4th and have to come back tripling my strokes. Phew! Each night I've dreaded going to sleep and facing the tragedy again. Have some more tea, someone, do! Thank you, Dickie. I thought I could depend on you. Takes his cup and refills it as she talks. Dickie, my boy, you're a tank for tea. And when you're old, oh, very, very old as I am, you'll turn into a little crumpled green old man like a leaf of oolong tea. Here lies the grave of Dickie Todd, who lies in peace beneath the sod. Alas, he died to drink no more, quite steeped in tea instead of lore. Not so bad offhand. Dickie, see what I've done for you. Mabel is convulsed with emotion. Never mind, Mabel dear, don't take it so to heart. The worst has not yet come. Won't somebody have some more tea? It's a drug on the market since I took charge. I'll have to drink it myself. Pours herself a cup. Then, in an overly careful, unconscious manner, here comes Mr. Lawrence. Shakes hands with him. How do you do? Will you have some of my wares? You hate tea? Oh, what a Philistine! Now that's very gallant, I'm sure, but I'm loath to dispense unwelcome favours. Thank you, Mr. Lawrence. I've just been telling them all about my luck. The idea of doing wee drap in 4. I had expected to do it in 14 with much effort. I surprised myself. I even surprised my caddy. And that's a triumph worth boasting of. What's the matter? Looks from one to another. Going? Is it exeunt omnes? You desert too, Dickie. Going to burn incense before your idol? Hope she proves kind. Good night. See you tomorrow, Mabel. Goodbye. Nods farewell after them, then turns to Lawrence. Well, Mr. Lawrence, we seem to be the only survivors. Survival of the fittest? Modest soul. Will you look at that sunset? Let's go over to the other end of the porch where we can see it better. She moves to other side of porch and sits on railing. Yes, it has been a happy day for me. One likes to excel in things, even if it's only golf. Oh, but I don't, you know. I'm not good at all in lots of games. I can play tennis. I play at rackets, but I'm a perfect dub at croquet. Love? Ah, that's a game I never play. It hasn't any rules, you know, and I won't play a game without rules. Interrupting him, smiling. Now that's just the trouble. These games where you make your own rules, you never know who wins. That's very gallant, but I'm not at all sure I would. Well, you see, I play at so many games. I really don't think I have time for any more. Oh, you want to teach me? You're a professional? Only amateur. Well, that's encouraging. Is it a very hard game to understand? As easy as that? Well, I may be able to grasp it. I warn you, though, I'm awfully stupid. The bland expression of a seeker for knowledge spreads over her face. Now what? You choose. You play partners, do you? Well, I've chosen. You have to tell whom you've chosen. Oh, well, I'll choose again. I choose you. Now what? Looks straight ahead, repeating his words. Make up my mind that you are the only man in the world. It's a rather egotistical game from the standpoint of the teacher, isn't it? Of course, I couldn't make up my mind on a subject like that, offhand. I might practice that. Go on. She looks at him inquiringly. What's the matter? Can't you remember the next step? I thought you said you knew this game. What do you do? Looks straight ahead. Quoting him again. Forget everything and everybody. See only her face with its laughing eyes, its wicked mouth, and the dimple in her chin. Well, I'm afraid your experience isn't going to help me at all. I can't go round seeing nothing but wicked mouths. How would I ever play golf? Oh, I beg your pardon. You have to be serious, do you? That's one of the rules, I suppose. I hope I'll be able to grasp the rules by and by. Looks at him shyly. We don't seem to be getting along very fast, do we? What do I do now? Just love you? Is that all? I think that's one of the things I'd have to practice. And what are you doing all this time, may I ask? Surprise, embarrassment, tenderness hash across the girl's face. Really? As much as that? Oh, is that the way you score? May I ask who taught you this game? Oh, Cupid, the great professional. No wonder you play so well. Rises. But see, the sun has quite gone, and we must go. I know I don't know very much about it yet, but I might take another lesson tomorrow. Come along, partner. End of sketch number 1. Sketch number 2 of Modern Monologues by Marjorie Benton COOKE. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Stage directions and roles of Mrs. Anstrom and Winston Catt, read by Linda Olsen Fitak, Los Angeles. A modern Becky Sharp. Scene: My lady's boudoir. Discovered: My lady stretched on a couch. She speaks. Oh, I'm tired and sleepy and cross. Tired and sleepy and cross. Tonight, my night, the night I've worked for and slaved for and lied for, and now I'm tired and sleepy and cross. That's the way. You want a thing with all your might and main, you work for it and get it, and then you wonder why you wanted it. Here I am tonight, on a pinnacle of accomplishment, and the hateful little fiend in my head saying, "Why, in the name of all that's silly, have you spent 2 whole years trying to get an invitation to one of Mrs. Jarvin's dinners?" You know why, little fiend. You know why. Mrs. Jarvin is our social Saint Peter. She jangles her keys in the ears of the great unworthy, and her nod admits you to the innermost shrine. I've an insatiable curiosity about shrines myself, And St. Peter has nodded. Well, I've worked for it. Like the little corporal, I've climbed up over the dead bodies of all the friends God ever gave me, and God wasn't very generous to me. Not very. Oh, I suppose that little Winston cat will be there. I haven't forgotten our last conversation about the Jarvins' dinners. She had her first card and came to gloat. Of course, Mrs. Anstrom, you're going to the Jarvins' dinner. I? Oh, no. I understand this is her annual dinner to the bourgeoisie. You're going, of course. My dear, said the Winston cat, you'd sell your dirty little soul to go. And I would have. I would have. It's the only time I ever knew her to blunder upon the truth. I must be careful with the women. Not too grateful to the Jarvin herself. I must cultivate that little male annex of hers and make myself irresistible to her ugly daughter. I'll snub the Winston royally. I may allow Mrs. Lambert to ask me to call. We'll see. I must be seen for at least 5 minutes with Mrs. George Alexander, and then for the men, and diplomacy out of the window. A pair of eyes and a wit for the men, and hang your ancestors. I must be calm, cool, and collected. I must remember that I'm not wedded to luck. Lord, no, I'm wedded to Jack Anstrom. May something happen to stop his stupid old mouth. Looks at her watch and turns quickly to touch a bell. Marie, why aren't you here to dress me? Marie, why do you keep me waiting? Don't you know that I dine at the Jarvins tonight? What? Toothache? What do you mean by having a toothache tonight? Why don't you have your teeth pulled? Where's my gown, Marie? Toothache or none, you should have had it here. Hasn't come. It's fate against me. Well, it isn't the first time I've gone up against fate. Get a cab and go for it, Marie. No. Have Annette call up Madam on the phone. Tell her I give her 15 minutes in which to get that gown here. Hurry up! This is absurd. I'm getting all excited. Well, did you tell her? Oh, what a face. Why didn't you go to the dentist this afternoon? No time. You have all the time there is. Money? Well, what do you do with all the money I give you, Marie? Is it really as long as that? Well, I see I must get you a check from somewhere, Marie. You're a very good maid, Marie, the best I ever had, and very patient. I appreciate it. I hope you'll get your reward sometime, Marie. In heaven, perhaps. And now do your best by me, Marie. I want to make a great sensation tonight. I want every woman in the room to envy me my maid. No, pile it up high in puffs and rolls, such as only you can accomplish. Take care, you're pulling. No, it doesn't need curling. It's curly enough. I don't want it to look like the Winstons. She always looks to me as if she's dressed in her sleep, and then her husband bustled in and hastily did her hair. Loosen that. No, higher. Higher there, dear me. I never was so red in my life. When you're young and get excited, you're very, very pink. When you're middle-aged and excited, you get very red, and after that you get very purple. I wonder how many more years of the red stage I'm good for. Marie, you lie so delightfully that one is tempted to believe you. More hairpins? Through? Takes hand glass and inspects herself. Oh, Marie, I don't like it at all. What is the matter with it? Have you toothache in your fingertips? Now, don't cry about it. Go away, Marie, go to bed, or the dentist, or somewhere out of my sight. No, I don't want anyone to help me. I'll dress myself. Watches Marie depart. teeth. What are we coming to when our very servants have teeth? Should I take that hair down or let it be? Turns at the entrance of a woman. Oh, you've come at last, have you? I thought perhaps Madam expected me to call for the gown on my way to dinner. Get it out at once, please. I'm in a great hurry. What's the matter at Madame Merton's that she sends out a gown 10 minutes before it's to be worn? Sickness in the workroom? Nonsense. That's no excuse. Gets into skirt and struggles to get band to meet. Well, whom did you make this band for? Certainly not for me. It's good 3 inches too small. Let it out, let it out. I can't breathe in the thing. Now, what are you going to do? Well, you've got to do something. Let it out, rip it, pin it, but do something. Well, that's better. It isn't particularly comfortable yet, but I can breathe occasionally. Get me into the rest of the creation. I know I oughtn't wear this colour tonight. With this red face and all this sparkle, I look like a bird of paradise. What do you think? Of course you wouldn't know. Touch that pill, please. Now where does this go? Indicates shoulder strap. I don't like the thing. Oh, here you are. Marie, what do you think? Do I look like a Christmas tree with all the candles lit? Brilliant, you think? Well, assume a virtue, if you have it not. Hook this business, please. Go away now, Marie. You give me horrors. Who's that? No, don't come in, Jack. Stay where you are. Now I know it. I have a watch right here, and I know the exact time. Ouch! Take care, it's a pin. Jack, what have you done to yourself? You look exactly like a broiled lobster. No, that's too tight. What strange misfortunes you do have with your dress shirts, dear. They always bulge in or bulge out. Why don't you sometimes strike a medium bulge? Now, don't tell me how I look. I know. To woman. Do you consider me into this thing? Tell Madame Merton that I think it's an abominable failure, and that I'll come and tell her so myself tomorrow. Throw this around me, dear. Take care, my dear man. You're not putting a blanket on a horse. Come along. As far as I'm concerned, I feel more like a cannibal feast than a dinner with St. Peter. Exit. End of sketch number 2. Sketch number 3 of Modern Monologues by Marjorie Benton COOKE. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Stage directions and role of hostess read by Linda Olsen Fitak, Los Angeles. Her day at home. Scene: drawing room. Discovered: the hostess and her best friend who assists. The hostess speaks. Isn't it absurd? 5 o'clock, and about 10 people here. If you announce your hours from 4 to 6, everybody makes it a point to arrive at 5:30 and pack your rooms for 20 minutes. The next time I send out cards, I shall say from 1 o'clock on, and I'll have a mob here on the stroke of 1 to see whether or not I'm crazy. Oh, yes, Hartley's. I was there, were you? Why, of course I talked to you for 5 minutes, didn't I? How stupid of me. To tell you the truth, I haven't an idea whom I saw or what I did. Did you ever see such a jam? I don't see how that woman has the courage to entertain in that tiny house. I was crushed and pulled. My gown was torn. I give you my word, I never expected to get out of there fully clad. When I was finally squeezed into the dining room by the crowd back of me, I succeeded, after ages of patient waiting, in getting a slim sandwich and a small piece of chocolate. Give you my word, dear, that's all I got. It certainly was an ideal afternoon. Inspects her empty rooms. I am so tired of standing here, aren't you? You know, I can't see why, with all our modern improvements, we don't renovate our methods of entertaining. Some sort of big social clearinghouse, you know. I could send in a list of people I wanted to entertain. The man in charge would issue the cards and receive the replies, and I'd be happy and the guests would be happy. Oh, how do you do, Mrs. Marvel? So glad to see you. So good of you to come early. You know Mrs. Westcott? Yes, it is a vile day. To Mrs. W. Here they come, thick and fast. How do you do, Mrs. Thompson? So glad to see you. You know Mrs. Westcott? Yes, isn't it? I never have any luck in weather. Mrs. Jeanette, I'm so glad to see you. I understand you're to be congratulated on the engagement of your daughter. You must be so glad to get her settled at last. It's lovely, isn't it? Why, Miss Knowlton, how do you do? Haven't seen you for ages. Have you quite forsaken frivolity? In mourning? Your father? Oh, I beg your pardon. I didn't know, or at least I think I must have forgotten. The flowers I sent? Oh, I'm so glad you liked them. Mrs. Westcott, this is Miss Knowlton. How do you do? Great pleasure, I'm sure. Passes her along. A moment's breathing space, Mrs. Westcott. Didn't I tell you they'd all come at once? Here's that strange and wonderful Mrs. Starr. I always wanted to say to her, Twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are. Why, Mrs. Starr, how do you do? So glad to see you. I was so broken-hearted that I missed your talk at Mrs. Martin's on the analytic study of ragtime. You didn't? Oh, how stupid of me. I've confused you with Mrs. Bangor. Your subject is cooking in the 18th century, isn't it? You know Mrs. Westcott? To Mrs. W. My dear, did you hear what I said to her? She and Mrs. Bangor are sworn enemies. Here comes Miss Waite. I've always thought her parents must have had a prophetic sense of humor when they named her Carrie Waite. Isn't she a whale? How do you do, Miss Waite? So glad to see you. My dear girl, what have you done to yourself? No, but you look so thin. You do like to be told that. I don't see why you should. Why, no, you're not fat. You know Mrs. Westcott? Mrs. Wright, this is a pleasure. And how is that dear husband of yours? Oh, I beg your pardon. Mrs. Westcott, Mrs. Wright. To Mrs. W. Well, did you hear that? I asked her how her husband was, and she said she really didn't know. She believed he was in Europe. I tell you, it isn't safe to ask the simplest question of your dearest friend these days. Here comes Mrs. Easton. Prepare for an avalanche. Her face assumes the gone look of one deluged with talk. She makes ineffectual efforts to break in. Oh, how do you do, Mrs. Easton? So, indeed. Oh, I'm so glad. No? I should never have expected it. Really? How dreadful. I'm so sorry. Oh, well, that's better. You know, Mrs. To Mrs. W. Phew! Have you ever been able to get in a word edgewise? I never have. Wonder if she ever runs down. My dear, I think they're all here. Let's plunge boldly in and see if we can get a cup of tea for love or money. Come along. End of sketch number 3. Sketch 4 of Modern Monologues by Marjorie Benton COOKE. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Stage directions and role of Mrs. Derwent, read by Linda Olsen, Fitak, Los Angeles. The Road of the Loving Heart. Scene: drawing room at Mrs. Derwent's. Enter Mrs. Derwent and Alexander Walton. Mrs. Derwent. Home again, home. I think I must be an abnormal sort of creature, for sometimes I hate home. The same old things crowding you in, shutting out the sunshine and looking at you with the same old eyes. That squat, bronze idol is always laughing at me. I'd like to have a bonfire every week and burn up all my things. Hard on the insurance companies. I hadn't thought of that. Well, things are always hard on somebody. She sinks down on couch and plays with her gloves. Tragic, you say? Oh no, not tragic. Only tired. She makes an effort and continues brightly. How did you time your entrance so opportunely? A moment later, or a moment earlier, and you would have missed me. Your guardian spirit, she's still faithful then. I suppose it is a she. Where? The Kimballs? Oh yes, I went. What? You were there? And just to see me? You must have come after I had gone. I hurried on to a reception somewhere. I've forgotten just where. Took in 2 teas, and now home again for an hour before the night work begins. Why do I do it? Well, it seems to keep me from thinking. Chatter, chatter, chatter. Automatic, you see. I'd hate to hear a phonographic report of the things I say on a day like today. Yes, dear, I am tired. I only seem to find rest when your arms are around me, and yet sometimes I think, Alex, that our meeting was the greatest misfortune that could have come to us. Please, dear, let me finish. If I'd been born of your class— No, you can't change facts, Alex. I was not, am not, of your class. Then there's the past. If one could kill and crush and forget the past. But one cannot. She walks to and fro. Your friends ask me about and treat me politely. But why? Because I am myself? Not at all. Because the great Alexander Walton has told the world that he intends to make me his wife. You've lifted me up so far, Alex. Ah, dear, I didn't mean to hurt you. Come, we won't talk of me any more. What has today brought you, my Alex? Crosses to his chair and leans above him. What, really? More honours? Ah, Alex, you're climbing so high, and I'm away down here trying to see up to you. Yes, I am jealous. Jealous of your fame. Jealous of your honours, because they are taking you away from me. You have so much love, and I have only you. With all you have, you can't make one woman happy? Well, I suppose there are people born whose fate it is to almost touch happiness, and yet never to reach it. You've given me all the joy I've ever had, but to have made me happy, you would have had to begin so far back. With my mother, perhaps. No, not that tonight. Don't let us go over all that again tonight. It can't be yet. I cannot marry you while you're in this fever of work. I'd only distract and bother you. Not until you have time for me. Well, perhaps that's not a pretty way to put it. I mean that you can't serve two mistresses. After we're married? Well, I suppose your wife and your work will have to compromise. When she rules, I'll slip away very quietly and hide. But when I reign, I want her buried. Dear me, so late. I fear, Sir Alex, I must send you away. I've only a moment left in which to dress, and I dine out. I'm so sorry. Yes, I know I'm unsatisfactory, but dinner waits for no man. Good night, my love. She watches him out and comes slowly back to couch. I suppose it's got to come. There is no use running away from thoughts. You can't shut out the in-betweens when the thoughts come crowding in. What am I going to do? What am I going to do? Am I going to marry Alex and be happy at last? Well, why not? Life owes me a little happiness. God knows I've had none. And I can make him happy. I know I can. I'm playing with chances again, for there's always the past. Wherever I look, up or down, it's there. These women about me with their good, untempted lives behind them. They thrust it at me. Their suavest bows and insult. I suppose they call me, what is it? A woman with a past. Alex's wife, a woman with a... And he, poor boy, the only one who knows the story. He will have none of my warnings. He thinks he can march on up and carry me with him, my brave Alex. Well, he can't. I and my past will get in his way, and he'll stumble on us. Then after a while he'll wonder why he... No. Alex's happiness, his success, I will not tamper with them. In the old days, before I learned to think, I might have taken the chances. But I didn't love Alex then. Smiles. It must have been before I was born. I've grown too big with love to drop back again. Half rises from the couch. Alex, you must go on alone, climbing to your heights. I, with my burden, can't keep step, and so I must fall out. Oh, Alex, if you knew what it means to me, the long, lonely road without you. But I choose it for your sake, my Alex. The little bronze god and I, we must go on, laughing. Turns, half dazed, as if interrupted. What is it? Marie? What is it? Ah, yes. I had forgotten that I dine out. Gets up slowly, as if numb, and drags herself out. End of sketch 4.
Sketch 5 of Modern Monologues by Marjorie Benton COOKE. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Stage directions read by Eva Davis.
Mrs. Northrop, read by Linda Olsen Fitak.
Mr. Reynolds, read by Nima.
Bobby, read by Thomas Peter.
Hilda, read by Linda Olsen Fitak.
Sketch 5. What the Janitor Heard. Scene: public telephone room, basement of the Montclair. Discovered: Mrs. Martin waiting for her number. Enter Mrs. Northrop, hastily. Mrs. Northrop.
Good morning, Mrs. Martin. You're waiting to use the phone? Yes, isn't it a godsend? I couldn't live without it. I'm in such a muddle. 2 unexpected guests to lunch, and Monday, and not a thing in the house to eat. I excused myself to go to the baby and ran down here. Have you got 2 nickels for this dime? Thank you so much. It's such a nuisance not to have nickels. Hello? Is this the grocery? Oh, excuse me, Central. I forgot to look it up.
Gets down book.
Now, wasn't that bright? I never can remember numbers, can you? Hello? South 4032, please. Yes, 4032.
To Mrs. M.
They're always so stupid when you're in a hurry. Hello? Is this Brown's? I want to speak to Fred. Hello? Is this Fred? This is Mrs. Northrop. I have unexpected guests to lunch, Fred, and I want you to send me some things at once. Well, I don't know. What have you got? How much are fresh mushrooms? How much? Goodness! Send me canned. And can of peas. How much are new potatoes? No, that's simply outrageous. No, I don't want them at that price.
To Mrs. M.
Potatoes always seem ordinary to me, don't they to you? Even if you do pay 65 cents for 2 or 3. No, I'm not talking to you, Fred. I want 2 boxes of strawberries. I don't care how much they are.
To Mrs. M.
They always make an impression this time of year, don't you think so? No, I'm not talking to you, Fred. 6 ripe tomatoes. Pick me up nice ones now. And Fred, have the butcher send me 8 lamb chops, extra nice. No, not today. I think that's all. I wonder if I've forgotten anything. Oh dear, the salad. Hello, Fred? No, Central. I want Browns again. I did put a nickel in. Another one? Why, it's perfectly outrageous. I shall certainly complain to the manager. No. I want...
To Mrs. M.
Dear me. What was that number? Oh, yes, South 4032. Thanks. Hello, Fred. I want... Well, call Fred to the phone, please, quickly. I forgot to order a head of lettuce, Fred. No, that's all, I think. I hope you'll get your number now, Mrs. Martin.
Starts to go out, then returns quickly.
Oh, would you mind waiting just a moment longer? I forgot the butter, and we haven't a bit. So sorry to interrupt you. In a hurry too, are you? How kind you are. Hello? South 4032, please, quickly. Another nickel? Well, I'm still talking to Brown's Grocery. Well, I never heard of such a thing. Mrs. Martin, have you got another nickel? Thank you so much. Here it is, Central. Hello? Brown's? I want Fred. Hello, Fred. A jar of butter, please, with my order. No, this is Mrs. Northrop. My things have gone. Well, I'll give a boy a quarter to bring it over at once.
And turns to Mrs. M.
Thank you so much. What? I've taken all your nickels. Oh, what a shame. And I haven't a cent of change. Well, perhaps you could borrow it from the janitor. I am so sorry.
Looks after Mrs. M.
The idea of being so mean about 5 cents. I never did like the woman anyway.
2. Enter Mr. Reynolds. Determination writ large in every feature. Takes down the receiver, scowling.
Hello. Give me Harrison 1000. No, 1000. Well, 10 double naught if you must. I don't care what you call it if you give me the number. Hello. Is this Harrison 1000? Well, ring off. I don't want you. Hello. Central. What's the matter with you people? I want 10 double naught Harrison sometime before tonight. Hello. This is Reynolds. Yes, Reynolds. 225 Lafayette Avenue, top flat. Now, I've written you and telephoned you as often as I intend to about the steam heat in my flat. I've got a sick wife and small children, and I don't mean to have them freezing to death all the time. The thermometer hasn't registered above 60 for a week, and the janitor says he can't help it. Now, I've put up with your damn shilly-shallying long enough, and either you get a man up here today to fix the pipes, or I'll get out next week. What's that? What? Not Smith? Who are you? Madame Marion's millinery? Why the deuce didn't you say so? Ring off.
Rings up Central vigorously.
Hello, Central. You have now given me 3 wrong numbers. Will you try once more?
Sweetly.
Harrison 10 double naught. Yes, thank you. Is this Smith's? Who is this? Well, I want to speak to Smith. Where? Milwaukee for 2 weeks? Ring off.
Hangs up receiver with a woeful smile, which ends in a word we can't repeat. 3. Enter Mrs. Baldwin and Bobby, her son. Bobby speaks.
Oh, no. Mama, I want to ring him up. Yes, I can. Why can't I? Well, when you've ringed him up, then can I talk to him? Why? Why do I have to be still? Now, can I? Now?
He puts his mouth to the receiver, then, as if in obedience to Mother's correction, puts it to his ear.
Hello, Papa. Bet you don't know who this am. No, 'tain't.
To Mother.
He thinks it's you. No, 'tain't, Mary. It's me. Yes, I do hear you. It's awful buzzy, though, in your ear, ain't it? I've been to the lake. Yep, and made boats. Me and little Evans. No, little Evans. Little Evans. No, he hasn't got any front name. Just little Evans. My boat sanked it. No, it sanked it in the water.
To Mother.
No, I don't mean that. I mean sanked it, Mama. Mama interrupted me. Little Evans was awful bad. No, I wasn't. Just little Evans. He most pushed me right in the water. He was disgustus. No, I said disgustus. No, I don't, Mama. Mama's talking to me again. I have to get down now, 'cause I'm so heavy, Mama says.
Kisses him through the telephone.
Did you get that? Goodbye, Pops. Come home soon.
4. Enter Hulda, of unmistakably Swedish features. She drawls.
Hello? Yes, the doctor live here. Huh? No, he is gone out. Yes, I think he coming back to lunch. I don't know. What is the name? Mrs. what? Hoodle? No, I don't catch him. Mrs. Hoodle? What? Oh, yes, Hoodle. What? Hammer? No. Homer? Oh, yes, I got him. Mrs. Hoodleheimer. Where you been living? No, the number. 413? No, ain't that him? Oh, yes, I got him. 433 14th Street. No? Oh, yes, 40th Street. Yes, I got him right now. What is the matter of you? No, what sicknesses you got? Oh, it is your little girl, huh? Dip? No, I don't hear you. Dip what? I don't know that word. You better call the doctor up when he come in. No, I don't know when he will be in. Sometimes he will be home before night and sometimes not. I don't know. Yes, I tell him. The stupid old thing. She can't talk the English good.
End of Sketch 5.
Sketch 6 of Modern Monologues by Marjorie Benton COOKE. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Stage directions and Mrs. Marshall, read by Linda Olsen Fitak, Los Angeles. In the merry month of May. Scene, on the street. Mrs. Marshall meets a friend. Mrs. Marshall. Good morning, Mrs. Owen. Yes, it is a lovely morning, isn't it? To tell you the truth, I hadn't noticed it before, but you see, I'm in a state which precludes all attention to details like weather. Oh, my dear, it's worse than that. It's house hunting. No, of course you didn't, because we only decided to move yesterday. I went to see our landlord about repairs, and I got so perfectly furious at him that I gave up our house on the spot. I do hate these people who are always moving, but I tell you, they are the only ones who get things done for them. It's the old tenants who get no consideration nor repairs. As I said to Dick this morning, we've outgrown the house anyway, and we certainly can't do any worse. Just think of the houses that have everything built in. Why, we don't know the meaning of modern improvements, and certainly our present landlord will never instruct us. Of course, Dick's awfully cross about it. Men are such unprogressive creatures. Well, I must hurry along to that intelligence office, or whatever you call it. Thanks. I feel quite sure that I won't have any trouble. You see, I've found out in the old house all the things that I do not want. Goodbye, my dear. Scene, real estate office. Mrs. Marshall enters briskly. Date, April 28th. Mrs. Marshall, cheerfully and decisively. Good morning. I want to get a list of desirable houses to rent. I want to tell you exactly what I want, so that I will not have to waste any time looking at impossibilities. I want a 12-room house with steam heat, 3 bathrooms, bookcases, sideboard, and icebox built in. I want a house which gets the sun in all its windows, and I'd like one with some ground about it. I prefer it on a boulevard and in a good neighborhood, of course. Oh yes, I want it in a block where there are few children, and I want a stable. I do not wish to pay more than $80 a month rent. You understand just what I want, do you? Several that would suit me, you say? Well, give me the list, please. As many as that? 1, 2, 3, 4. Why, 15 houses? There must be a great number vacant this year. Going into apartments, you say? Well, I cannot understand how any self-respecting human being could live in one of those apartment buildings, just like cliff dwellers. I'll go and look at these houses this morning. Much obliged to you. Yes, it is hot. Scene: real estate office. 5 o'clock of the same day. Mrs. Marshall enters. Mrs. Marshall, with bubbling indignation. I wish to see the young man who gave me this list of houses. Not here? Well, do you expect him back tonight? Yes, it is important. I should like to ask him what he means by giving me such a list of impossibilities. Does he think that I have nothing to do but run around and look at such atrocities? Here I've been this whole day in the broiling sun, and I haven't seen a house I'd even consider. Now, I told him exactly what I wanted. It isn't as if I were one of these women who has no idea of what she wants. I know precisely, and I told him in plain English, and he said he could suit me perfectly. Do you mean to say that you consider these your best houses? Why, one of them actually had a tin-lined bathtub. A big lawn? Well, what of that? You can't bathe on the lawn. Other houses? But do you realize that this is the 28th of April, and I have to move the 1st of May? I suppose I'll have to come back in the morning, and I wish you would wait on me, please. I don't want anything more to do with that other young person. Owns the business, does he? Well, he oughtn't to. He's utterly incompetent. Good afternoon. Scene: real estate office. Mrs. Marshall enters. Date: April 29th. Mrs. Marshall. Do or die tone. Good morning. What have you for me this morning? This is a new list. Now, will you please tell me just what to expect? Sunlight, but no yard. Go on. Steam heat. Nice neighborhood, but only 1 bath. Grounds, but nothing built in. Never mind about the rest, I'll go look at them. Bit of luck? Well, I hope so. Same day, 5 p.m. Mrs. Marshall enters. Mrs. Marshall, tragic. Yes, I've been to them all. I've been through 32 houses in 2 days. Why people continue to build such ugly, inconvenient, unsatisfactory things, I cannot see. You have nothing more to suggest. You think I've seen the best of them? Very well. Good evening. Scene: real estate office. Date: April 30th. Mrs. Marshall enters. Mrs. Marshall, with absolute humility. Good morning. What have you in a modern, up-to-date apartment? Yes, I did say that, but we've got to go somewhere, and we've got to move tomorrow. Size? Anything from 12 rooms down to 4. Rent? I don't care. My requirements? I haven't any. I'll look at anything you think desirable. I mustn't expect... What? To have the janitor built in? I consider that impertinent, sir. This is the list of your best flats. Very well. Good morning. Same day, noon. Mrs. Marshall enters. Mrs. Marshall. Despair. I've seen them all. I liked 2. But they wouldn't rent to me because I had children and a parrot. We might give up the parrot, you know, but I can hardly be expected to part with my children. Scene. On the street. Date. May 1st. Mrs. Marshall meets a friend. Mrs. Marshall. Beamingly. How do you do, Mrs. Owen? Was I smiling? Well, I'm the happiest woman on earth. Do you know, we're not going to move after all. I canvassed the ground pretty thoroughly and decided that Dick was right for once, that it's better to bear those ills we have than fly to others that we know not of. So I induced poor old Dick to go to the landlord and say that I was a little hasty in my decision and that we had decided to stay. It cost Dick $50 to buy off the new tenant, but then, as I told him, it would have cost us more to move. I find I'm really quite attached to the old place. Its faults endear it to me. And then, you know, I do so hate those people who fold their tents like the Arabs and silently steal away each year. Yes, do come and see me in my old new house. Goodbye. End of sketch 6.
Sketch 7 of Modern Monologues by Marjorie Benton COOKE. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Stage directions read by Eva Davis.
The Very Young Person, read by Linda Olsen Fitak.
Mother, read by Eva Davis.
Up to Date Girl, read by Linda Olsen Fitak. Maggie Dugan, read by Linda Olsen Fitak.
Sketch 7, Suburbanites. Scene, suburban train. Enter a very young person who meets a friend. The very young person.
Why, Betty Barton, how do you do? Where on earth did you come from? I haven't seen you in ages. Is that so? Boarding school. Isn't that fine? Of course you liked it. Everybody always likes boarding school. Me? Oh, I'm still at Miss Smithers. I suppose I always shall be there. Like it? I should say not. I simply hate it. Why, that old woman, that Miss Smithers, she just spends her whole time making us girls miserable. I give you my word of honor that if a boy so much as puts his head around the corner of the street, she pulls down all the curtains. That's a fact. Oh, I'd just love to, but my father won't hear of it. He says he wants me right at home where he can see that my studies don't interfere with my social duties. Silly, isn't it? He says he knows that if I went away to school, I'd work myself into brain fever. I never saw you look so well, and that's the sweetest hat you've got on. Would you mind turning around? Oh, it's lovely. Where do you get your hats? Do you now? Well, I was never in there. I'll just make Mamma go in with me tomorrow. Hats are an awful bother, don't you think so? Of course, I never can have the kind I want. I always have to get these young-looking things. Mamma makes me. But I tell you one thing, my spring suit is way down to the ground. I've driven Mama to it at last. Why, it's perfectly disgraceful. There are plenty of girls in our school who have their clothes clear down to the ground when they're only 13 years old, and here I am, almost 16, and mine up to my ankles. There he is.
Claps hand over her mouth.
Oh, fudge. I didn't mean to say that out loud. That's just the trouble. I don't know who he is. I only know that he gets on my train in the morning, and he takes this train every afternoon. Oh, no, not that thing. I mean the third one with the pink cheeks and the curly hair. Isn't he a stunner?
Seizes friend by wrist, excitedly.
You don't mean to say that you know him? Well, call him over and introduce him. I'm just dying to meet him. Oh, well, never mind. You can explain when we get him here. Oh, go on, please. Wait till he looks this way. Now, he's looking. Oh, he saw us. He's coming. Isn't he swell?
Nods.
How do you do? Yes, I've seen you before, too. Yes, I always take this train. Yes, I know you do. I've seen you on it. Isn't it funny we never have met before? I know lots of manual training boys. Oh, yes, I know him and Fred, and Dick Vaughan, I should say. I know all those fellows. Awfully nice crowd, don't you think so? Sort of young, but awfully nice. What? Dick Vaughan? Mercy, no, he's just a baby. Why, I've known him since he was that high, and he's only about 13. Oh, he goes with lots of older fellows and all that, but...
Looks at conductor, who interrupts her.
What? Oh, ticket. Now, what did I do with my ticket? Did you notice whether I had a pocketbook or not, Betty? Didn't I? Well, maybe it's in my book.
Shakes book.
No, well, you'll have to punch my ticket twice tomorrow, conductor.
To boy.
Oh, now, please don't, thank you. I do have the awfullest time with my ticket. Of course, if I take my pocketbook, it's all right, because then it's in my pocketbook, but if I don't, I usually put it in one of my school books, and then if I don't bring the same book home that I took to school, why, there I am. Why, sometimes I owe the conductor as much as 5 punches. Dear me, this is my station. Where did I put my other book? Would you mind moving, Betty? No, it isn't there. Oh, thank you. Didn't I have an umbrella? I thought I did. I'm getting off here, conductor. Do come and see me while you're home.
To boy.
I suppose I'll see you in the morning. Goodbye.
2. Enter mother and small boy, Martimus. Mother. Now hurry along, Martimus. Hurry. Lifts him into seat. Now, you sit still and be a little gentleman. She looks about car and back to Martimus. Yes, we are going now. Yes, the engine is pulling us. What makes the engine go? Why, the engineer, dearie. The engineer. Turn around, Martimus, and let Mama tie your necktie. Now hold still. She unties and ties his tie again. Nonsense. Now, I didn't pull it tight enough to hurt you. Scratch what? Your collar? Where? Here? Oh, that doesn't scratch much. I can't help it if it does. You have to wear a collar when you go to town. Because you do. Gentlemen always wear collars. I don't know why. Yes, that's the lake. It's very deep. No, not 1,000,000 miles, but deep. Quite deep. Martimus, take your feet off my dress. Look at that now. Brushes herself vigorously. Turn around and let me put your cap on straight. I never saw anything like the way you wear your cap. Now, let it alone. I don't care how the boys wear theirs. I want you to wear yours the way I put it on you. Martimus, don't do that again. Haven't you a handkerchief? Well, what have you two for? Laughs. One for each nose. Well, you'd better use them both. That's right. Now put them back in your pocket. No, one in each pocket, silly. Looks out the window. No, this doesn't seem to be a station. I suppose we're slowing up to let off smoke or something or other. No, now, this window is just as good as that. Well, my dear, if that is the only thing that will give you happiness, go over there. But be careful. She helps him across. Martimus! Oh, Martimus! Come here to Mama. Come here a moment. Put up your foot. I want to tuck your shoestrings in. I never saw such floppy things. Now, you may go back. Careful. Oh, I knew you'd do that. Shh, come here to me. Stop that noise. I never heard such yelling. Come here. Takes him in her arms and rocks to and fro. There. Where did 'em hurt 'em? Mama, kiss it. There. Look at that little baby staring at you. Ain't you ashamed? Now, you turn round here at your own window. Yes, I see. It's a freight car. I don't know what's in it. I expect coal or cows. Oh, it isn't a coal car? Well, it must be something else then. Yes, that's steam. Martimus, you do ask such silly questions. I don't know anything about steam or cars or cows or coal. You ask Papa when he comes home. He'll know. Now, what are you going to do? Do sit still like a gentleman. What? Oh, the baby. Isn't it cute? Wiggles hand at baby across the aisle in the usual asinine manner for attracting a baby's attention. How do, baby? How do? To Martimus. Isn't that cunning? Did you see that smile? What? You want to kiss that baby? Well, I don't know whether its Mama will let you or not. You might go and ask her. But do be careful now. We don't want you falling down again. Helps him across, then claps her hands and calls him back. Why, Martimus, what do you mean by grabbing that little baby by the top of the head? Of course it's soft there. All babies are like that. Well, because they are. I don't know why. No, your head isn't, because you're not a baby. No, mine isn't, because I'm grown up. Papa's, well, I sometimes think that Papa's is a little soft yet. Oh, this is our station. Now, don't stop to ask questions. Come along. Drags him off, finally picks him up, and runs off. 3. Enter an up-to-date girl. She is joined by Mr. Atwood. She speaks.
Good morning, Mr. Atwood. Won't you join me? And how do you fare this perfect day? Yes, it certainly is charming. You know, I think weather is the only thing I'm conservative about. I'm all for extremes in everything else. You think so? Women are more apt to be extremists than men, you say? Well, perhaps. I never thought of it. Of course, you men are so overburdened with logic, reason, and all such drawbacks. Now we women just jump at our conclusions and sense the in-betweens, while you poor plodders are conscientiously exploring. No, I disagree with you. I think 9 times out of 10 we arrive at the same conclusions, and you must admit, our method is shorter.
Leans over and bows to the woman who passes.
Why, how do you do, Mrs. Stearns? I didn't see you. Thank you. I'm hoping to soon.
To Mr. Atwood.
Has she been sitting there all the time? How stupid of me not to have seen her. Do I like her? Yes, immensely. She's so frankly detestable. Most women are, you know, but not frankly. She says more nasty things in a minute than you can repeat in an hour, and yet she never seems to have any malice. A keen eye for human failings and a sharp tongue for summing them up. And it's all done in the sort of impersonal attitude of the historian, don't you know? Oh, she's clever. No, men don't like her. She's too smart. Well, that's what I mean. I don't think men do like clever women. They like them in books, but they're afraid of them in the flesh. Oh, well, of course women like clever men, but then women like men to be their equals, and you men, you like a woman to be on the next lower mental plane. Did that man call Elmswood? I'm off at the next station. Yes, I'm going to the club to play golf. I go round every day now with a professional. Getting ready for the tournament, you know. We take our games so seriously these days, don't you think we do? I always seem to be getting ready for a match, or getting over a match, and it's a maximum of hard work and a minimum of pleasure, and of course I wouldn't do it if I weren't such an odious old peacock thirsting for success at things. Well, here we are. I'm glad to have seen you. Thanks. I'll work very hard and pray for luck. What more can a mortal do?
4. Enter Maggie Dugan and Annie O'Brien. Maggie.
Now hurry right along, Annie O'Brien, and take the first seat you come to. Here you are.
Drops into seat and gets up again quickly.
I beg your pardon, sir. I didn't see you get down first. I hope I didn't hurt you, sir. Well, that's good.
Aside.
I almost squashed him. Here you are now, Annie. Sit down. I don't want to sit down. I wouldn't sit down if I could. I'd rather sit down standing up. I'll grab onto one of these hoops.
She steadies herself by loop.
It's awful crowded this time of night, ain't it, Annie? Sure thing. Yes, I've been out all day. It's my day out. I bought me a ulster, Annie, silk-lined and fancy trimmed. Ah, it was a swell thing. $8.38. Would you believe it? Ah, it's a swell thing. No, ain't so tired. I wouldn't be tired at all if it wasn't that I'm wearing the mistress's old boots, and they nearly kill my feet. And where are you living now, Annie? Are you? And do you like the place?
Utter surprise and horror.
You don't tell me. She won't let you play the coronet? Why, what do you stay for, Annie? I wouldn't stay a minute with a woman that wouldn't let me play the coronet. Why don't you bring her up before the union? Oh, yes, I got a nice place. Most suits me. But I says to her before I went there, I says, now I want 1 hour on the morning to practice music and 1 hour after lunch to take me nap. The butler's got to be Irish, so we'll be congenial, and I says, if I want a few friends in now and then for dinner, I don't want no kick coming, see? And she says to me, she says, would you mind if me and the family just stopped in the house while you're with us? And I says, I don't mind at all, I says. But if you promise me these things and don't do 'em, I says, I'll have you up before the union and you'll sit in the kitchen and whistle for a cook, I says. And she knows I was telling the truth. I had her coming all right. She's meek as a lamb, Annie, she never peeps. I tell you, all you got to do is make up your mind to your rights and learn to handle the upper classes, and it's easy. By God, this is my station. Come round and see me, Annie. Come round and see me and the butler. So long, Annie, so long.
End of Sketch 7.
Sketch 8 of Modern Monologues by Marjorie Benton COOKE. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Stage directions and Woman in Automobile read by Linda Olsen Fitak, Los Angeles. Their last ride together. Scene: country road with village in the distance. Discovered: a man and a woman in an automobile. She speaks. Oh, it is ideal, the softest air and the bluest sky, and the yellowest fields. Well, but you would see them if you'd just look at them. I feel like flying on a day like this, and this dear old machine is almost as good as wings. God bless the man who invented automobiles. She leans out and laughs softly. Oh, see, stop a minute, slow up. See him? The yellow lizard on the rock. To lizard. How do you do, sir? See him wriggle. That's the way he bows. I see it now. I see it all. That's what I was, last incarnation. A beautiful yellow-green lizard with nothing on earth to do all day long but sun myself on a warm rock. No brain, no thoughts, no responsibilities, just food and sleep. Idyllic. You don't like my lizard idea, I take it. Ah, you're such an unappreciative creature. Do I do you an injustice? Well, I'll amend it and say, your appreciative powers are strictly limited. Alas, that spring should vanish with the rose. Breaks off with deep sigh in answer to his remark. Oh, dear me, now there you go. Art, literature, science, trees, lizards, all roads with you lead back to love. Why will you always hark back to that tabooed subject? I have no patience with a man who has but one idea and presents it to you every time he opens his mouth. What sort of man do I like? Well, I can't tell you exactly. I can't give you a list of required virtues, any more than I can tell you just how to make fudges. But I can make them. I sort of feel what ought to go in. Oh, you are incorrigible. You harry an idea to the very topmost branches. I don't know. It's such a silly conversation. I just wish I'd been one of those Sabine women, snatched up and carried off willy-nilly, with no time to weigh this man with that and choose. I'd love being carried off and conquered in spite of myself. Then I could fight until the last flag went down, and live peacefully ever after. Turns to look at him quickly, then laughs. You? How could you? Would you kidnap me in the dark and carry me off in a hansom cab? How would you go about it? Alas and alack, we have to go to Richard Carvel, and to have and to hold for our romance in these lacklustre days. Hums again lightly. The nightingale that in the branches sang are whence and whither flown again, who knows? Looks at man, then at machine, then up the road toward the town they are approaching. What are you doing? Seriously. What are you doing? Don't you see we're coming to a town? Well, slow up. We're going at a dreadful rate. Anxiously. What is it? Is there anything the matter with the thing? Excitedly. Why don't you do something? Oh, is it running away? Turns to him in utter amazement and annoyance. Marry you? Certainly not. I think you'd better give your entire attention to the machine and let matrimony alone. The girl begins to look terrified. We're going faster and faster. We'll be killed if we go through that town at this rate. Well, I don't want to be killed with you or anybody else. Oh, see, there's somebody on the road. She half rises and calls. Look out! Oh, man, look out! We can't stop this thing. Turns to man beside her. I command you to stop. If you can't, I'm going to jump. Don't touch me. Oh, heavens, we're in the town now. She looks about her as if they were going at high speed. Calls. Look out! Little boy, do you want to get run over? Hangs out of auto and calls back to him the rest of our sentence. You silly little idiot! To man beside her. Just look at the crowd after us. Oh, I hate you. And a policeman. She starts up suddenly, her eyes wide with terror, and points straight ahead. Look! Look! We're going toward the river! Horror. Oh! Turns to him quickly. Marry you! Oh, yes, yes! If you could only stop this infernal machine, any time, now, here, wherever you say, only just stop it. Yes, I love you with all my heart and soul, but if you don't hurry up, I won't love you long. As Otto begins to slow up, she sits with her hands over her eyes, catching her breath painfully. The machine stops with a jerk, and she looks up, turns to man, and breaks out angrily. Do you mean to say that you could have stopped it as easily as that at any time? Looks ahead. And there is a bridge. You knew there was a bridge. Rises. Going? I'm going home by the train. I don't care what you think, I'm going on the train. She jumps out. Superbly. I certainly do not consider myself engaged to you. You wrung my consent from me under false pretenses. I beg your pardon. I did not say that at all. I said that if I had been one of those Sabine women, no doubt I'd have liked being carried off. Of course, having no sense of humour, you misunderstood me. I bid you a very good afternoon. A very good afternoon. End of sketch 8.
Sketch 9 of Modern Monologues by Marjorie Benton COOKE. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Stage directions read by Thomas Peter.
Lady Macbeth and Portia, read by Linda Olsen Fitak.
Juliet, read by Leanne Yao.
Ophelia, read by Eva Davis.
Sketch 9. When Shades Assemble. Scene: the afterworld. Enter Lady Macbeth and Portia. Lady Macbeth.
Good morrow, Lady Portia, Cato's daughter, wife of that Brutus who did slay great Caesar. Why stalk you here among the shades alone?
Portia.
Such words as slayer sound but ill, methinks, upon the lips of guilty Corda's wife. My Brutus was a martyr, who did read signs of the times, which others dared not see. The blood he shed was shed in duty's name, so say not slayer's wife again to me, thou who didst lure beneath thy roof King Duncan, and with thy 2 blood-stained hands didst, with thy husband's aid and foul connivance, kill, stab, and murder there thy king.
Lady Macbeth hastily.
Enough, enough, fair Portia, this sufficeth. Our husbands may have had their little faults. No doubt we had our little vices too. But here among the shades where friends are few, let us not waste the hours in angry speech. but join our forces that we may not be dependent for all social intercourse upon Ophelia and that youngster Juliet,
Portia.
who even now approach from out the dusk.
Enter Juliet and Ophelia. Juliet.
Dear me, Ophelia, but this life is slow. Why, when I lived at fair Verona's court, my every day was filled with gracious sport. Can I forget that ball my father gave, when first I set my eyes on Romeo?
Lady Macbeth, aside.
Methinks that we have heard that tale before.
Ophelia, softly.
Beware, there's Cawdor's dame, who gossips so. Lord, we may know what we are, but know not what we may be. How should I my true love know from another one? By his cockle hat and staff, and his sandal shone.
Portia.
Ophelia, my dear, know you no other songs?
Alas, sweet lady, and alas, alack.
Why, at Verona's court, the troubadours were wont to dedicate their songs to me.
Alas, we can't escape Verona's court.
Juliet, angrily.
Dost think we'd rather hear of Corder's house, and Duncan's death, and see you wash your hands, and hear your thrilly speeches about blood? Not I, for one, nor mad Ophelia here. I'd rather sit and hear Ophelia sing, and that's not very cheerful, you'll admit.
Lady Macbeth, indignantly.
Thou impudentest child among the shades, the raven himself is hoarse that can out-croak you. Chastise the valour of thy saucy tongue. Begone about thy business. Get thee hence.
Portia, sweetly.
Be not impatient with the child, my lady. She's young yet, and, poor soul, she died for love.
Yes, and I'm sorry I was such a fool. Oh, why did I not wed the Count of Paris, instead of joining Romeo in the tomb?
But Romeo loves thee still?
Yes, Romeo does. Why, at the time when all the heroes are let in to spend the day with their lost wives and loves, what think ye then this Romeo does?
Well, what doth he?
He sits all day and holds Ophelia's hand.
How shall I thy true love know from another one? Tra-la-la-la-la-la-la.
The Montagues were ever fickle loves. I care not that he pays Ophelia court. But this is hard, that I must have Lord Hamlet, being or not being, at my side, discoursing on man's capability, and talking ghosts until my very spine is chilled and every hair doth rise, like quills upon the fretful porcupine.
How dare you use a speech that's not your own?
Oh, I'm so glad he does speak thus with thee, for I was ever much afeard of him. He said, to get me to a nunnery. Oh, woe is me, to have seen what I have seen. See what I see. He is dead and gone, lady. He is dead and gone.
Methinks Ophelia is just a simple thing.
I would sometimes I could escape my Thane, the days he is allowed to visit me. I grow aweary of reiteration, that bickering outworn phrase, I told you so. Children, dear lady, ours the fate has been for centuries to face the limelight's glare, and in the world of mortals still the young do play at Juliet's and Ophelia's parts, and murder worse than that of Corder's Thane is yearly done upon our splendid lines. Yet, spite of this, we ever do remain heroes and heroines of classic lore. What matter, then, if in this dim beyond some private woes and family bickerings do mar the tenor of our even ways? This is the penalty we pay for fame, a fame which even elocutionists have failed to ruin and entirely mar, a fame which, though the idol-shattering world may try, it cannot rob us of, it needs us still. So, ladies, let's in silence bear the wounds of private life, and let us turn a smiling face unto the shades without.
End of Sketch 9. Sketch 10 of Modern Monologues by Marjorie Benton COOKE. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Stage directions read by Thomas Peter.
Mr. Meek, read by Nemo.
Mrs. Ten Brook, read by Sonia.
Carol Kendall, read by Eva Davis.
Sketch 10. Over the Coffee Cups. Scene: breakfast table. Discovered: Mrs. Meek, waiting breakfast for her better half. Enter Mr. Meek, looking the worse for wear. Mr. Meek.
Mornin', Elizabeth.
Crossly.
James, why wasn't I called for breakfast? Harris thought I wanted to sleep? Well, Harris isn't hired to think. He's hired to carry out my orders. Hurry up with things. I've an engagement.
Opening and glancing over paper.
My dear, I make it a point not to know what time I get in. 4 o'clock? I don't doubt it. It was so thoughtful of you to stay awake and keep track of the time. Soft-boiled eggs. Ugh! Take them away. Don't you dare put the things in front of me. Aren't we ever to have anything but eggs for breakfast? I'd gladly exterminate the whole kingdom of egg-producing animals. Give me a chop, James, and be quick about it.
Tries paper again, but puts it down at Mrs. Meek's sigh.
Is there anything particular the matter with you this morning, my dear? You certainly would depress a gravedigger. I tell you, a man has a right to demand a cheerful face at the breakfast table. Me? I am cheerful. I came down in the best of humors, ready to make myself agreeable, and your first remark put me on edge for the day. Haven't made any remark? Well, it must have been your expression then. It was something.
Looks at paper a minute, then throws it down.
Can't you talk a little? Or is it against the rules? Oh, Mama is coming, is she? That'll be nice. When does she arrive? Today? Sorry, I can't be home to dinner. Ring the bell, will you? What is that man doing? James, has the cook gone for the chop? Well, I hope so. Bring me a bromo seltzer. Ah, is this the chop?
Tries it.
Tough. Tough. I can't eat it. No, I don't want it. I don't want anything. I'll get something downtown. Madame Despair, I leave you to enjoy your miseries. Tell Mama about them. She'll sympathize, no doubt. Ta-ta.
Exit. 2. Scene: same. Discovered: Mrs. Tenbrook, looking squally. Enter Mr. Tenbrook, with affable and ingratiating manner. Mrs. Tenbrook, in tone between tears and indignation.
Good morning. Yes, you may bring in the breakfast now, Jane. I suppose it's as cold as a brick.
To Mr. T.
A good many people told me that matrimony wasn't all smooth sailing, and I thought I was prepared for anything. I'm sure the night before I was married, I read a whole book of quotations about marriage not being a path of roses. But I never supposed that, after only 3 years, you'd get in at such an hour as you did last night, and then throw epithets and things at me when I came in to see if you wanted any breakfast. It's very strange you thought it was your man when I came clear into the room and spoke to you. There was a time when you would have known my voice.
Silence. Then she begins again.
I try so hard to be reasonable. It just takes all my self-control not to ask where you went last night. But I won't ask. Not at all. Whatever suspicions I may have, I will be silent. Oh, I can be silent if there is any necessity. I'm not like you. I have my tongue under perfect control. I don't see why you can't be amusing at the breakfast table when you've been frisking about all night, goodness knows where, having a good time. What is it Emerson says about a cheerful face at the breakfast table? No, that is not from my book of quotations. Such a night! Every board in the house creaked, and there was a mouse somewhere, and such noises outside. Every time I was just dropping off, I thought I heard your latchkey squeak. Bad habit, waiting up? I suppose it is, but, like some of yours, it's hard to break. I'm sure my father never got in at any such hour as you did last night. Well, my mother never had any occasion to row at him, as you elegantly express it. Yes, she was a model, but bear in mind she had a model husband. I'm just like mother, though. I'll do anything on earth to avoid trouble. I can't bear women who nag. My motto is patient endurance. Through? You haven't eaten a thing. I shouldn't think you would be hungry after what you probably had last night.
Lifts the martyred cheek for his parting kiss.
Goodbye.
Watches him out.
What martyrs! What blessed, silent, unappreciated martyrs we women are.
3. Scene, same. Discovered, Mr. and Mrs. Kendall and Arthur Kendall. Enter Carol Kendall. Carol.
Good morning, Mother D. Morning, Dad laddie. What's the joke? What were you laughing at? Oh, the guardian of the hearth again. What's she done now? Served pudding for breakfast? What? Eggs in teacups? Oh, lovely. And nothing else? Ah, I see. Eggs simply. A sign of things that are not, and a promise of things hoped for. Well, we have to admit that Time himself is a flyer beside this cook. Yes, mother dear, she is thorough and good-natured. But even you must grant that breakfast begun at 7 and finished at 11 is a strain. Mother, you'd find virtue in a pumpkin. What's the news, Dad? Wait, let me guess. First column, shootings and holdups. 2, somebody declares war. 3, scandal in social circles. 4, article on trusts. 3 out of 4, right? Huh? Laddie, I'm coming to town today. I'll do myself the honor of lunching with you, thanks. What, broke? Really? Well, never mind. I'll take you. Dad, you're invited. Strictly Dutch treat.
Hand to ear.
Cheer up, friends. I hear a movement in the kitchen. Perchance the coffee is approaching. No, false alarm. Now, don't let it ruffle you, Father. Pin your mind to the virtues Mother's ferreted out. She's thorough and clean. Cleanliness has always seemed a bit negative to me, but they do say it's next to godliness. Ah, here we are at last. Let every man fall to. There's nothing like this period of preparation. Trains the temper, induces patience, whets the appetite. There's the postman's ring. I'll go.
Dashes off and back.
Everybody gets a letter. Oh, must you go so soon, Dad? Bother the train. You aren't half through your breakfast.
Calls after.
Dad, Mother says wear your ulster. Weatherman says colder. Meet you boys at 1 o'clock. Goodbye.
Opens letters, singing.
There were 2 jolly gentlemen who went away to sea. Nice boys, aren't they, Mother? Well, dear, if I'm to take a noon train, to work, says the little red hen.
End of sketch 10.
Sketch 11 of Modern Monologues by Marjorie Benton COOKE. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Stage directions read by Trisha G.
Reginald, read by Thomas Peter.
Angelina, read by T.J. Burns.
Billy Norton, read by Thomas Peter.
Joan Descott, read by T.J. Burns.
From long ago to now. Then. Scene, Miss Angelina's drawing room. Enter Reginald.
Miss Angelina, how good you are to see me.
Shyly.
Am I? No, but I'm not. For I wanted to see you.
Regretfully.
I'm so unworthy.
I don't quite understand.
Mysteriously.
No, of course not.
Nervously.
Will you let me make you a cup of tea?
How heavenly kind you are.
Strong or weak?
Absently.
Both.
What?
Oh, I mean, either.
Sugar?
It needs none. Your hands have made it.
Oh.
Miss Waring, Angelina, I have something on my mind.
Horrified.
Have you? Oh, I'm so sorry. Won't you take a caraway cake? I think they are good when you have a...
Tragically.
Miss Waring, Angelina, what do you think of love?
Bewildered.
Oh, Mr. Reginald, I think someone is calling me.
Seizes her arm.
No, stay, Angelina. Don't leave me yet. Let me unburden my mind. What do you think of love?
With bent head.
Oh, Mr. Reginald, I don't know. I think it must be very pleasant.
Pleasant? Angelina, love is a fiery furnace that consumes, burns, tortures, kills.
Terrified.
Oh, no, Mr. Reginald.
I know, Angelina, for I burn and die.
What shall I do? Shall I call Mother?
Mother, no! None can help me save one, and she is so far above me that I dare not aspire to even gaze upon her.
Plucking up courage.
Is she fair?
Rapturously.
Fair? She is so fair that she dazzles and blinds her slaves.
Does she know you love her?
Can she be ignorant when love is writ large in every feature?
And yet she doesn't love you?
Love me? Impossible.
Then she must be a horrid thing.
With air of wisdom.
Men were made to love women, and women were made to love men. And if they pretend they don't, why, they're...
I'm sure of it. If I thought there was hope.
Why don't you ask her?
I dare not.
What's her name? I'll ask her for you.
You, angel. Her name is Angelina Waring.
Overcome.
Me? I'm the angel? Oh, Mr. Reginald.
At her feet.
Ah, I know I am not worthy to sit at your feet, Angelina, but love makes me bold. Could you entrust your life to me? Do you love me?
Half crying.
I don't know.
Hides her face.
Oh, dear me. I think I do.
Angelina, I shall build a shrine for you, my queen, and worship at your feet all the days of my life.
I'm so glad you love me. Did you ever love anyone else?
No, angel.
takes her in his arms.
I don't see why you didn't think love was pleasant, Reginald. I think it's just sweet.
Angel!
Now, scene, porch of a clubhouse. Enter Joan Dascott and Billy Norton.
That was a good two-step, Billy. And this is a good night. Let's sit here a moment. My dear fella, you're puffing. You're getting too old to dance.
Indignantly,
Puffing? Your grandmother.
We'd better go back. Music, they say, hath charms to soothe the savage. Do sit down and stop pacing. It makes me tired to watch you.
Truth is, Joan, I've something on my mind.
On your what?
This may be a joke to you, but it's dead earnest to me.
What are you driving at?
Fact is, I want to talk to you seriously, Joan.
laughs.
Seriously? All right, Billy, fire away.
Uncomfortably,
You know, Joan, I'm not much on love.
Well, there's nothing serious in that. It's only when you are much on love, or in it.
Don't chaff me. I'm in earnest.
Apologize.
I say, not very long on love pattern all that, but I found the girl for me, all right, and...
shortly,
Well, you're in luck. What more do you want?
I want you to advise me, old lady. Truth is, I don't think she has much use for me.
What makes you think so?
Well, I don't know. I just think so.
Why don't you brace up and ask her like a man?
I sort of dread to, for fear she'll turn me down and not let me see her anymore.
I see. You prefer a miserable possibility to a miserable certainty.
earnestly,
Do you think I'd have any chance with a girl, Joan?
Depends on the girl.
desperately,
I don't see how I could stand much show.
Modest flower, who is your iceberg, Billy?
Why, it's you, you know.
Me? Oh, great doodle, what are you talking about?
It's gospel, Joan. It's always been you.
Is this a moon spell? Do you have these fits often?
'Tain't a fit. 'Tis chronic.
You ought to see a specialist about it.
That's why I've come to you.
Well, I can't take your case. The chronic ward is full.
Don't joke about it, Joan. I'm in dead earnest. Do you think you could ever care anything about me, dear?
I don't know whether I care or not. I never have thought anything about it.
Well, could you take a little time to think about it?
Well, Go on in and dance this. I'm going to stay here. Don't talk, Billy. Just go. Tell Jack Gardner that I've gone home if he asks for me.
half an hour later,
Still here, Joan? A penny for you.
I've been thinking it over, Billy. I suppose I've always cared a good deal and didn't know it. Then it's an advantage that we know each other so well. And I was thinking that if we got married, we might go into the American Golf Championship together down at Lenox this year.
Then it's yes, Joan?
Mm-hmm.
God bless you. I hope we'll have good luck, old lady.
In the championship?
smiling.
In the championship.
End of sketch 11.
Sketch 12 of Modern Monologues by Marjorie Benton COOKE. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Stage directions and Golfer read by Joseph Tabler. The first lesson. Scene, Country Club grounds. They stroll toward the first tee. She speaks.
Well, of course, I've got to learn. For 2 years I've held the
championship for the only frivolous female under 50 who cannot play golf. And I'm getting tired of it. You're under such a disadvantage if you don't speak the language, you know. Why, I've been to dinners when the conversation might just as well have been in ancient Patagonian, as far as I was concerned. Well, there are several reasons. In the first place, everybody went wild on the subject, and the easiest and most original attitude was ignorance. And I'm ignorant enough. I've never even followed around a course. Oh, that's where we get the caddy, isn't it? You see, I do know that the caddy is a boy, and not one of the sticks. Oh, clubs, I mean. Why do you have to have such a lot of sticks? Clubs, I mean. Oh, different ones for different plays. Now they look just alike to me, except some are fatter than the others. This is the starting place, isn't it? Where the crowd is. Teeing ground, you call it? There's a man going to, what do you call it? Tee. Let's go closer so I can see him do it. What's the little hump of dirt for? Oh, I see. I shouldn't think you'd need that. It looks easy enough. Follows man's motions carefully, her eye following the ball into the distance. Ooh, he's pretty good, isn't he? Ooh, is he a dub? Why, I thought he was good. Now, here goes a girl. Let's see her tee away. What did I say? Oh, I mean tee. Off. Isn't she a crank about her little old hump of dirt? Well, that wasn't much of a shot, was it? What are all these people standing around for? Dear me, I hate to begin before them. I'm sure I can do as well as that girl, though, who just teed out. Takes club and tries to place her hands on handle according to his directions. I see. Right hand like this. Free swing. Isn't that free enough? Oh, yes, feet on the ground. And only swing from the waist. I see. Oh, I can do it all right. Fix the little anthill for me. Now I'm going to keep my eye on the ball. My feet on the ground. Swing from the waist up. Follow around and incidentally hit the ball. She swings and smiles proudly, her eye searching the distant horizon for the twirling white ball. Where did it go? Where? A look of dismay obliterates the smile, and her eyes search the ground at her feet. Absurd! Why, I never touched it, did I? Well, did you ever? Try it again? How many trials do I get? Well, I know, but I thought I did measure the distance. This time I'll surprise you. Now look out. Ask that woman to stand back. She bothers me. She swings vigorously. Oh, goodness me! What a hole! Ha ha! Not so deep as a well, nor so wide as a church door, but 'twill serve. It's hot, isn't it? Now, this time I'm surely off. 1, 2, 3, go! Swings again. Ah, how far was that, caddy? 20 feet. Well, that's pretty good, isn't it? Now we just walk along, hitting toward that flag. It'll take me a week to get to that first one. Now, little boy, you give me the biggest club in the bag. How could I be expected to hit anything with this little shiny stick? I don't care whether it's the right one or not. I want the big one. Now, here goes. She swings. That must be fully 2 feet. Well, I hit it, and that's something. Don't you want to go on and wait for me at the flag? I hate to spoil your game. Well, come on, then, if you're quite sure I won't spoil your game. Suppose you give my ball one good crack this time to show me how it's done. Oh, beautiful. It must have gone a mile. How splendid and strong you are. Do you know, I like it all but the little ball. If you didn't have to worry about the pesky ball all the time, I think it would be a fine game. Looks around. Everybody is getting ahead of us, just on my account. Now, aren't you sorry you aren't playing with some other girl? Well, if you're satisfied. Oh, here's your ball. Watches him drive. I wish I could do that. How long would it take you to teach me to play like that? All your life? Well, you must think I'm a stupid. or else you're a very poor teacher. I see. You think a good teacher ought to be able to keep a pupil forever. No, it wouldn't work with me. I've always gotten tired of teachers. Like playthings, in a month. I didn't say my teachers were playthings. You aren't listening to me. You're looking for that ball and neglecting my conversation in a shameful manner. Dear, oh dear, I have to hit it again? Swings her club. You're right. It would take me a lifetime. I never saw such feeble efforts. My, it's hot. I never felt the heat worse. Now what do you do about the river? Pick up your ball and carry it over the bridge? Drive it over? You don't say so. Oh, I see what you mean. Now you needn't laugh. How should I know you meant knock it over when you said drive? No, I didn't think you meant on horseback. See that boat down there, moored to the tree? Doesn't it look inviting? How many more holes are there? 16. Oh, gracious. Where? In the boat? What would I give if you paddled me to Summerdale for lunch? I'd give anything I own in the world. 'Pon honor I would. What can we do with the sticks? Oh, yes, I'd forgotten the caddy, and evidently he's forgotten us. He's actually lying down over there in the shade. Steady her now till I get in. Gets into boat. Oh, this is heaven. It's awfully good of you, Victor, to be golf pastor and master, but you don't know with what joy and rapture I'm saying. Here endeth the first lesson. End of sketch 12.
Sketch 13 of Modern Monologues by Marjorie Benton COOKE. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Read by Devorah Allen. A Summer Idyl. Scene: drawing room. Discovered: Tommy and a caller. Tommy: We've been at a hotel. We was there all the whole summertime. Yes'n, Mama and Papa was there too, and Lizzie, she's the nurse, but she didn't count much because she was always talking to a waiter there. You bet I did have a good time. They was lots of children there. Oh, just wagon loads. Some was awful bad ones like Lester Jones and Jimmy Banks and Bud and Charlie and lots more bad ones. And gee, we had fun. Us children had to eat in the children's dining room. Just us and the nurses, you know. And we used to frow things, peaches and crackers and things. And once Lester Jones throwed a spoonful of soft-boiled egg right at his nurse. You ought to seen her face. Gee. And once the manager came in and told us that if we didn't behave, we'd have to go home. And Bud Allen, he had his squirt gun, and he made it go off at the manager, and it all went down his collar and the behind of his neck. Oh my, he was mad. He tried to find out who did it, but he couldn't. So he just told our parents on us, and they give it to us awful. Yes, we used to play on the beach, mornings. We went in swimming and yanked the ladies' feet from under 'em. Gee, you oughta heard 'em yell. Once, I was just yanking Miss Molly's feet out. She was a lady there. And old Smarty Archie came, he was her beau, and he just grabbed me and dunked me under and drownded me, pretty near. But I just guess we got even with him. I told the fellas about it, and at night on the porch, oh, it was a great big porch, you know, and music and things, and nights, us kids used to run round and catch 'em spooning. And we heard Smarty Archie asking Miss Molly to go horsebacking next morning, so us kids fixed it up, and we got up early and put sandburrs under Smarty Archie's horse's tail. We stuck 'em on so you couldn't tell they was there, but the horse, he could. Gee, you oughta seen that horse go. Every time he switched his tail, he went faster, and Smarty Archie got throwed and skinned up, and us kids was good and glad, 'cause it served him right for dunking a kid 'bout half his size. Sometimes when it was rainy, we stayed in and played circus and things. But that wasn't as much fun, 'cause the girls was always sticking in. Once when Bud Allen's sister just would come and we didn't want her, I got that squeezy thing out of my mother's room. My mother cleans her teeth with it. You squeeze it, you know, and a pink snake comes out. Well, we told Jessie Allen it was candy, and we'd give it to her if she'd go away, and she ate the whole thing, and gee, she was sick, and had a doctor and everything, and then she went and told on us just like an old girl, and we caught it, I tell you. Sometimes we played in the hall. Children mustn't, you know, but we used to when our parents was out. And way down at the end, they's a hose, you know, like in the garden. And once Bud Allen took it down when we was being a fire engine, and you ought to seen the water shooting out, and we couldn't stop it. So we just ran out and was playing on the beach when they asked us if we did it. Gee, you ought to seen that hall. It was a regular river. But oh, the mostest fun was Harry. He was the bellboy. And you have a clock in your room, and you turn the hands round to what you want, and it rings downstairs, and Harry brings it. And we kids would ring for ice water in my room, and then run upstairs to Bud's room, so when Harry came there wasn't nobody there. Gee, it used to make him swear. We used to hide back of the stairs and hear him. But, what? All right, I'm coming. That's Lizzie. I wish we had a waiter for her here. She bothers me lots. Well, goodbye. There's lots more I could tell you about that hotel, but I gotta go. It's an awful nice place. You ought to go there. Yes, Lizzie, I'm a-comin'. Exit. End of sketch 13.
Sketch 14 of Modern Monologues by Marjorie Benton COOKE. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Stage directions read by Eva Davis.
Butler, read by Thomas Peter.
Maid, read by Linda Olsen Fitak, Los Angeles.
Sketch 14, Below Stairs. Scene, Servants' Hall. Enter the butler, who drops into a chair with a deep sigh. Enter the maid, who also drops down, sighing. Butler.
Are they off?
Maid.
Oh, well, I hope so. The carriage door slammed before I came down.
Fans languidly with a paper.
What a day. It's begun wrong this morning, and it's been getting worse steady all day. First she came into my pantry, and says to my face, mind you, that the silver had not been cleaned for a week. I says, Madam, it was cleaned 5 days ago today. Well, she says, it's black, and you haven't had a dinner party nor a lunch for 2 days, and not a thing on earth to do but clean the silver. Then I spoke right up. If there was men enough in the stable, I says, so's the under-butler wouldn't have to ride on the box with yes, I says, the silver would be cleaned twice a week. But, I says, with having to economise on the under-butler, I do the best I can, Mum, I says.
Sure you do. We all do. If she'd economise a little on her clothes, we could have another under-butler, and it would be more comfortable for all of us.
Just hand me a sip of that sherry, Maggie, to quiet my nerves. Then at dinner, I was most frantic. She was a bundle of nerves, and he was a bundle of grunts. I was so flustered I gave him the wrong cigar, and I gave her scotch for Roy, and all those zuzus at the party rubbered their heads off. I saw that old Mrs. Smith Smythe grinning, and I wanted to spill champagne down her back.
Well, you ain't the only mourner on the bench. She hasn't been to bed before 3 o'clock for 3 days, and she's cross as 2 sticks. It's Maggie here and Maggie there, and not those shoes, Maggie. And I tore you to have that uppity cloak cleaned. By God, I thought I'd shake her. You told me about that cloak this morning, I says. Did you expect me to have it cleaned and home by tonight, I says. She gave me a look, but she's too smart to make me real mad.
Look at the way we work, from 9 in the morning till 8 at night, and them not out more than 3 days a week to lunch, and 4 nights a week to dinner. And what do you get for your service? A paltry 100 a month in your livery, and no thanks. It's a horrid life, Maggie, and that's no joke.
Well, look at me. What with her breakfast to be took up at 9, and her lunch clothes laid out, and her afternoon clothes cleaned, and her dinner clothes pressed, I've never a minute to myself. Now, you get a rest when they're off to dinner, but not me.
Grins.
Go on. You were sleeping 2 hours yesterday.
Well, goodness knows I needed it. Don't she get in at all hours, and don't I have to wait up? Well, what's doing tonight?
I have a few friends coming to late supper in the servants' hall.
Am I in it?
Sure you are, Maggie. You're a fine girl, McCree. Do you think I'd love you out?
Who's coming?
Covered laid for 10.
Silver and plate?
Sure.
Wine?
Sure.
Dancing afterwards?
Samson, me and you to lead the cotillion.
Cotillion? You don't say.
I do. You know they are in the habit of pitching our cotillion favours into the wastebasket the morning after, and I am in the habit of collecting them out. Oh, say, I've got grand lot of stuff, not for 10 figures.
Oh, say, ain't we comme il faut?
She rises and sweeps by him, saying,
Ring the bell, please, Martin, for me maid. I must dress for Mr. Martin Matthew Moriarty's ball. Order me carriage at 11. Ah, here you are, Maggie. Lay out me green satin and me yellow coat. I'll be with you in the twinkling of an eye, Moriarty.
She runs out. Looks after her.
Maggie, you're a fine girl.
He rises and stretches.
Oh, I don't know. I may marry that girl. She most suits me. Well, we'll see.
Exit. End of sketch 14.
Sketch 15 of Modern Monologues by Marjorie Benton COOKE. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Stage directions and role of Mrs. Wiggin, read by Linda Olsen Fitak, Los Angeles. On Woman's Rights. Scene: Schoolhouse at Bird Center. Discovered: Woman's Club in session. Mrs. Wiggin takes the floor. Begins in hasty and deprecatory manner. I ain't a-going to try to explain to you. What's that, Miss Parsons? Address the chair? What you talking about? I ain't addressing no chair. She pauses while the parliamentary rule is explained to her, dawning intelligence seen on her face. Oh, I see. It's parliamentary, is it? Well, I'm glad you told me. Is it a he chair or a she chair, Miss Parsons? Call me to order. Who's a calling me to order? You tend to your own order, Malvini Springer, and you'll have your hands full. I don't notice so much order in your housekeeping. To Chairman. What's that? Oh, I see. Well, now, why didn't you explain that to me at first? Malvini, excuse me. You see, I ain't been to no club meeting before. The first one you had, I was having trouble with my hired help. Y'all know Jemima Hawkins? Well, she's been with me going on 10 years, just like one of the family, and she had to go home to her folks. She's got a lot of folks, Jemima has. Her father and mother and 9 brothers and sisters, and they all got some disease or other. Why, once I was up there to see Miss Hawkins, and she lined them kids up and counted them out. Number 1, heart disease. Number 2, rickets. Number 3, lunger, etc. down through the list. I reckon they got all the diseases in the catechism, and so Jemima had to go home, of course, and so I couldn't come to the club meeting, and next meeting you had, the twins was croupy and... What? Oh, yes. Well, excuse me. I'll get down to business now. My paper's on women's rights, and I was a-going to have it all writ out and tied up with a blue ribbon and all, but it took so long I give that up. And so I ain't really going to read no paper at all, but will speak just from the tablets of memory. I don't know just what women's rights is, but I don't suppose that makes any difference in a speech, and there's one thing I'm dead sure I do know, and that is what women's rights ought to be. A woman ought to have rights. She's a weak creature longside a fellow man, and she ought to be allowed her rights. Woman ain't never had a fair show. She was handiclapped from the first, being made out of a rib the way she was, and so much ought not to be expected of woman as otherwise. Man has always been the stronger animal, but woman ain't without her weepings, namely, and to wit, nails, feet, and tongue, specially tongue, and with these few she rose to her present pinnacle of glory. Women from the first has been the leader. Eve led Adam, and we've been leading men ever since, so of course some rights has been growing along with us. There's several I think of, namely, and to wit, 1. The right to change her mind. 2. The right to say the last word. 3. The right to ask her man what time he got in. 4. The right to mean yes when she says no, and others, etc. To take these one by one and singularly, we see number 1, the right to change her mind. Of course, all humans change the mind, but especially women. But how you ever going to learn anything if you don't change the mind? I used to think that a husband was a great convenience 'fore I got one. Now how was I to learn myself that a husband's worse than twins unless I change my mind? That's what I ask you folks, and you're all women and had the same experience, so I needn't say no further on that head. Number 2, the right to get the last word. Now, I hold that somebody has got to get the last word, so it may as well be woman, and usually is, but woman gets little enough here below, and she may as well get what she can. Number 3, the right to ask a man what time he got in. Well, it ain't a-going to do her no good to ask about it, for there ain't a man on earth that'll tell the truth, but it's a satisfaction for her to know what a good liar she's got. Now, just to show what a mean-spirited man'll descend to, I knowed a man that said 12 o'clock to the usual question, and just then the cuckoo clock hollered 3, and he up and cuckooed 10 times. But law, he found out 13 was a unlucky number. So you see, woman has a right to all the rights she's got. Now there is some females as is a-pining for the right to vote in politics along with the men, and we all know one sister who leaves her children to the care of themselves while she's a-trotting around trying to get other women to vote. She's got the worst kids in the country and ought to be home managing them. I went to town once to hear what she had to say, and left the twins with their dad, and while I was gone, one of 'em fell in the well and was most drownded, and the other fed whitewash to the calf, so I made up my mind I'd had enough of the voting business. Now, I know I don't want no man monkeying around my kitchen, and I reckon men feels the same. Politics is men's work. Men has run politics for a good many years, and I reckon they're welcome to keep on doing it. I don't want the job. What would we do with a woman president, for instance? I bet she never could get a cabinet together, and it would be worse than a sewing bee if she did. So women had better stay to home. The rights you want is these, namely, and to wit, to manage your home, your children, and your husband to suit yourself, and I got my opinion of any female as can't do that. In closing, I would say that rights is rights and women is women, and they ought to have 'em. Exit. End of sketch 15. Sketch number 16 of Modern Monologues by Marjorie Benton COOKE. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Stage directions and roles of Melindy and Mr. Abraham Ebenezer White, read by Linda Olsen Fitak, Los Angeles. A highly colored sketch. Scene: Melindy Johnson's kitchen. Discovered Melindy singing. Enter Mr. Abraham Ebenezer White.
Good evening, Miss Melindy Johnson.
Oh, it's you, is it?
No, it ain't me. It's some other nigger. Is y'all at home this evening?
I don't know if I is or not. I might be, and again, I mightn't. What you want anyway, Mr. Abraham White?
Want? I don't want nothing. I come to make a call on you. Am you'll never see a gentleman making a call before?
Sure I is. But all the gentlemen what call on me is in the habit of sending up their card.
Well, hold on. I'm going to send up my card if y'all give me time. Why's your butler? I ain't see no hand stretch out for to take my card.
Grins and bridles. Well, here's the hand. Now let's see the card. Who you say want to see this evening?
Miss Melindy Johnson is the lady's name.
Well, I don't know if she'll see you or not. She ain't so stuck on you. Say, how long you gonna stay here, Mr. White?
Till I gets kicked out.
Well, you might as well sit down then.
Sure I'm out. Just as cheap.
Starts to sit, then sees the lack of chairs.
Say, look at you. I don't want to sit on the only chair. You sit down.
No, I don't want to sit down. I'd rather stand up.
Oh, go on. Sit down.
No, sir. I couldn't think of depriving you of your seat.
No depravity at all, miss. No depravity at all.
She sits down.
How's your folks?
My folks is all right. How's your folks?
My folks is all right, 'ceptin' George Washington and Grover Cleveland and Abraham Lincoln. They's all got something the matter with them, but the rest of us is able to take a pork chop now and then.
That surely is good news, Mr. White. I was glad to hear that.
Say, look at you. Didn't I see you flaxing around with that barbershop coon last night?
Mr. Rastus Harris, if that's the gentleman y'all's alluding at, done took me to a minstrel show.
I ain't got no use for that coon.
He ain't got no use for you neither. I think he's the swellest, most gallubrious coon I ever set my eyes on. Ma, he does blow the money. He done hold on to a quarter like it was a ticket on to Kingdom Come.
Yes, well, it's easy enough to blow your money when you make it shooting craps. But when you work for all the money you gets, you don't go out and blow it all one night on no flirtatious nigger woman what don't know you on the street the next time she meets you.
Look at here, Mr. White. Who you alluding at?
I ain't alluding at nobody.
Well, that's a good thing. I don't know as you got any place criticizing anybody. Any man that's sitting up to yaller trash like that Anastasia Brown ain't got no place criticizing nobody.
Who's sitting up to Anastasia Brown?
Why, yo is. Ain't I see you dancing with her at the Jolly Club's ball?
Well, I only danced with her once.
Well, that was once more than anybody else did. Ma, I thought I would die laughing the way she was sitting around the wall. I reckon she's going to find out her aristocratical ways won't go down in our set.
Lord, I felt sorry for the girl.
Yes, you did. I heard how you took her home and how you kissed her.
Kissed her? Kissed that Anastasia Brown? Why, I'd just as soon kiss old Pete Thompson's mule as that trash. Who told you I kissed her?
Well, that's all right. Who told me you kissed her? I don't see how you expect to keep company with high-toned ladies.
Oh, you ain't so much flaxing around with that barbershop coon. Anastasia Brown ain't the only scarecrow in the cornfield. Now, looky here, Melindy Johnson. I's put up with all the foolin' I's gwine to. Y'all's got to take your choice. Yours mine or yours his'n. Now, is you or ain't you?
I don't know if I is or not.
Is you going to give up that barbershop, coon?
He has got the fine mannerisms.
You going to quit fooling with that crab shooter?
He does throw the money.
You going to leave off fooling with that second-hand fashion plate?
Maybe he don't wear the fine clothes.
Well, go on and take him then, and you're welcome to him. Of all the snub-nosed, bow-legged, cigar-style Indians I ever see, he's the worst. He simply nauseates me. That's what he does. I wouldn't take him to a dog fight. But if he's the pineapple of your eye, why, go on and marry him. You got my sympathy.
Starts to go out. Well, what you rushing around here for, like a chicken with his head cut off?
I ain't going to stay where I ain't wanted.
Who said you wasn't wanted?
Why, you did. If you're going to marry that coon, I can't afford to associate with you. I can't risk my reputation.
Who said I was going to marry him?
You said so yourself. That's who.
Oh, I never did say so. I ain't got no more intention of marrying with him than I has of marrying you.
Well, look a here, Melindy Johnson. If yo am a going to marry him, yo is a going to marry me.
Is that so? Who said so?
I said so. That's who said so.
Well, I like your nerve.
Cows you do. Ladies always likes a nervous man.
Puts arm about her.
Say, Melindy, does you love your honey?
Oh, so. I ain't so crazy about you.
Can't think of nothing else but you. I die for you. I sigh for you. Nights when I sleep and I wakes to find us weeping all for you. Loo-lee-loo, I was dreaming all the time about you, Lulu.
Excellent. End of sketch number 16. Sketch number 17 of Modern Monologues by Marjorie Benton COOKE. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Stage directions and role of Mammy, read by Linda Olsen, Fitak, Los Angeles. A dark brown diplomat. Scene: Mammy's kitchen. Discovered: Mammy singing at her ironing board.
Oh, yes'm. Miss Winston? Y'all calling me? I's here in the kitchen, ma'am.
Y'all looking kind of tired like this morning. I hope you am feeling badly.
Ma'am? Mad with me?
Why, for God, Miss Winston, what I done?
Things are missing from y'all kitchen?
Why, that mighty strange. I been here in the kitchen all the time, and I ain't missed nothing.
Does I take things home with me?
Why, yes, sometimes. We all does.
Nightfall last. Lemme see. Yes'm, I reckon I did take a few things that night. That was the night I took some things to old Miss Johnson. She's so poorly. I ain't take nothing much, though. Just a carcass of an old chicken I know you ain't going to have no use for.
Most a whole chicken? No, ma'am. You're mistaken about that, Miss Winston. Want nothing but old handful of bones that I took.
Why, Miss Johnson only got 4 children, and there wasn't but one helping around, so you see yourself, ain't nothing but a carcass.
What else I took? I don't just remember.
Sugar? Yes'm, I reckon there was a little sugar. And sweet potatoes? Yes'm, just a few naughty ones I know you ain't going to have no use for. Butter? Yes'm, mighty butter.
Can't have sweet potatoes without butter, you know, Miss Winston. Cake? No, ma'am, there wasn't no cake. I reckon that's about all there was in that basket.
Does I know what, ma'am? That's stealing? For God, Miss Winston, that ain't stealing.
What is stealing? Why, I reckon when you bust into houses of peoples you don't know, that you ain't got no acquaintance with, that's stealing. Why ain't I ask you for the things? Well, Miss Winston, I know when you hear how poorly old Miss Smith is, I know you're going to give 'em to me, so what's the use of asking you? Did I say Miss Smith? Well, I meant Miss Johnson. It was Miss Johnson I took 'em to. She's the one that's poorly.
Eat 'em myself? Miss Winston, I give you my word of honor, I ain't had a smell of them things myself. Yes'm, I hear you. Yes'm, I gwine promise never to do that no more. I gwine to ask you for everything I take. Yes'm, I know the cream go awful fast like, but it's that cat you got. That's the most expensingest cat I ever done know nothing about. She gets on the breakfast table 'fore you all gets down in the morning, and gets her head in the cream pitcher. I cotched her at it lots of times. Whip her? Lord, Miss Winston, I do whip her. Why, other day I fired a flat iron at her head, but it don't do no good. Can't get cream out of the bottle? That cat can't? Why, Miss Winston, you don't know that cat. Well, I seen her get onto the shelf and stick her claws in the pasteboard top of the bottle and yank it off, and then stick her other paw in and lick up the cream. That's the truth, I'm telling you. The cake? No, ma'am. The cat don't eat the cake. It's the mices. I never did see a house so full of mices. Some mornings I come down to get the breakfast, and I find they ate up half a cake overnight. That cat? Well, she won't touch mices. She got to have cream, she has. Ma'am? Mr. Winston says my cooking don't make up for my extravagance. Well, I don't know what he means. Ain't no one ever found no fault before with my cooking. Never that I heard tell of. Why, Judge Harlow, where I was before I came here, he said I was the most originalist cook he ever done heard tell of. He said my cooking beat all. That what he said. He said he didn't think it was right for him to deprive humanity of my cooking, and he paid me extra for to go and cook for somebody else. He said when you got a good thing, 'twas your duty to push it along. That's what he said. There ain't never anybody found no fault with my cooking before. Well, I reckon I ain't seemed to suit y'all, so I better be moving along. I's awful sorry to go, I is. You been mighty kind to me, yo and Mr. Winston. I don't reckon I's ever going to find no chillun I like as well as y'all chillun. Lots of folks won't have chillun playing round their kitchen, but I likes it. There's powerful lot of company in chilluns. Calls. What that? No, now, Miss Alice, honey, you can't make patty cakeses now. I was busy talking to your ma. What? You give me a kiss if I let you? Well, you come right along here and give me the kiss, and we'll see about them cakeses. Watches child in and bends to kiss her, then shoos her out. Mighty smart child, Miss Alice is. I's mighty fond of her, and she love old mammy too. Well, Miss Winston, when you want me to go? Don't want me to go. But if you don't like my cooking and my extravagance, I 'low you ain't want me to stay. I's willing to go. I'd rather go than for you to have any hard thoughts about me. I's a poor old woman, Miss Winston, but I got an honest heart. You say you ain't sending me off? You just a-scolding me? Well, bless the Lord, honey. You did give me a scare. I thought you were going to turn me out this time, sure. Miss Winston, I give you my solemn word. I gwine reform. I gwine be so saving you won't know me. Now, what you want for dinner tonight? Oh, yes, 'fore I forget it. Could you let me off on Sunday for the day? I want to go to a funeral. Old Miss Johnson's. Yes'm, same lady. Well, she ain't dead yet. You see, it's like this. She's mighty poorly and likely to go any minute, and she said that the corpse ain't got no show at all at the funeral, so she gwine have hers 'fore she goes. It's gwine to be Sunday. All the colored folks in town is gwine. Yes, I'd like to go all day. It's going to be mighty long funeral. Yes, thank you, Miss Winston. I hope you can arrange it for me. I certainly would appreciate it. Listens. What's that? That's them chillun on my clean back steps. I gwine snuck out there and catch 'em at it. Tiptoes to door, then breaks out. Yo, chillun, what y'all doing here? Am I told you not to play on my clean steps? You want me to break your necks?
Exit. End of sketch number 17.
Sketch 18 of Modern Monologues by Marjorie Benton COOKE. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Stage directions read by Thomas Peter.
Mrs. Payson Disleister, read by Linda Olsen Fitak. Elmira Beecham, read by Linda Olsen Fitak.
Stuttering Young Woman, read by Emma Charlotte.
Dressy Young Woman, read by Emma Charlotte.
Pearl, the Child Wonder, read by T.J. Burns.
Sketch 18. At Madame Newberry's. Scene: Madame Newberry's fashionable finishing school. Discovered: Jane Mortimer, secretary to Madame Newberry, sitting at the office desk and interviewing candidates. Enter, with immense empressement, Mrs. Payson Disleister and her daughter Eleonora. Mrs. Payson Disleister, in a large mellifluous voice accustomed to command.
I wish to see Madame Newberry. Will you send in my card? She is busy, you say? Well, I am Mrs. Payson Disleister. No doubt she will see me. She makes it a rule to see no one during teaching hours. Dear me, how tiresome. I suppose I could come again, but it would inconvenience me greatly.
Hesitates.
Well, I suppose I could transact my business with you if necessary, but I would prefer to deal with Madame Newberry direct. I wish to make some inquiries about the school, preparatory to placing my daughter Eleonora in Madame Newberry's charge. How large is the school? Indeed. That's unfortunate. I should have preferred it smaller. Are there really nice girls in the school? Ah, Eleonora has associated with none but the best, of course, and I should not wish her to form any ties with ordinary persons. I do not wish her to study much. She is not strong. Oh, yes. What do you teach?
She takes catalogue from secretary and reads aloud.
Voice culture, music, dancing, fencing, pronunciation, deportment, reading, French, German, and elocution.
Languidly.
These do very well.
With more interest.
Will she learn to enter a drawing-room? Good. And to converse on topics of a interest. Conversation classes, you say? Literature, art, science, politics? Is that the sort of thing they discuss? I didn't mean that sort of topics of interest. I meant the sort of talk that one needs at a dinner. I do not wish her to learn to discuss politics. It's no topic for a lady. Besides, I wouldn't have Eleonora become a strong-minded woman for anything in the world. I have always formed her opinions for her, and I have been very careful what she learns. The main difficulty with Eleonora is her shyness. I can't imagine where she gets it. Not from my family, nor her father's either, I'm sure. It's a great trial to me, a great affliction. I've brought her to Madame Newberry to have this overcome. I feel convinced that it can be trained out of her. Of course, in society today, a shy woman doesn't get anywhere. None of Eleonora's friends are shy, I am sure, and she has always been sent to the most expensive schools. I really don't see where she gets it. Well, I hope you can do something with her. Now about the hours. Of course, I do not wish her to study outside of school hours. She always gets so interested in her work that she is absolutely good for nothing else. Of course, I do not wish her school to interfere with other things. I have always thought too much study unhealthy for a young girl. Well, then she can begin on Monday. At 9? Dear me, that seems very early. Is it really necessary that she should be here at 9? Well, it seems a barbarous hour to me. Her name? Oh, yes. Eleonora Paysundis-Leister, 32 Astor Court, age 19. Suppose you just put down on that card, special attention to shyness. So Madame Newberry will not forget. I will send you a check today. What is the oh, is that all? Why, I paid 500 more at her last school. Are you sure that really nice girls are in this school? Well, she may try it a week or so. I think that is all. Come along, Eleonora. Good morning.
2. Enter a gentlemanly-looking young woman with a strong jaw and a long stride. She speaks in a tiny, thread-like voice, which is unspeakably funny in connection with her mannish manners. She speaks.
Is Madame Newberry here? Well, I want to speak to her. When will she be at leisure? Oh, you're her secretary, are you? Well, you do just as well. I'm a lecturer, and I wish to develop my voice a little bit. I have understood that I could have it done here. What sort of lecturer? Why, I'm Elmira Beecham. Haven't you ever heard of me? I'm one of the best-known Lyceum lecturers in the West today, and before many years have rolled away the whole length and breadth of this land from the grey Atlantic to the blue Pacific, shall ring with the name of Beecham. No, I'm no relation to the Liverpool man. My desire is to become the greatest reformer of our times. All can see that the times are out of joint, that society, conventions, matrimony, the family, the state, and the nation all need revolutionizing. All can say that, I say, but few have the power to undertake such reform. This is the task I've set myself. I intend to move thousands by my eloquence, to arouse them to some realization of the frightful condition of things in general. How do I expect to accomplish this? Ah, that is my secret. It is the most comprehensive plan evolved by the human brain since the days of Napoleon. I have had it copyrighted, and when the time comes, I'll astonish the world with it. The only thing I need now is a little more voice, and I've come to Madame Newberry to get it. I only have a few weeks to spend in this city before starting on a tour of Dakota, so I thought I might get my voice improved before I start. She could only give me the principles of voice development, you say? Well, if I like her, I may come back after the Dakota trip. Do you think I could take a lesson this morning? I don't want to miss any time. It's 10:30 now. See that watch? The people of Osceola gave that to me as a thank offering for showing them in what frightful slavery they live. Strange that you never heard of me. Never heard of my lecture, Reformation of the Universe? Here's some of my clippings. See this one from Witches Gulch, Texas. Miss Beecham's lecture, Reformation of the Universe, is one of the unchallenged literary triumphs of the age. You think it wouldn't pay me to study for a few weeks, you say? She couldn't do anything with my voice in that time? Why not? I've got a very good voice indeed. All I want is a little more of it." "Well, you needn't hem and haw about it. I expect there are other places where I can get a naturally fine voice brushed up a bit, where they'll be only too glad to have the name of Elmira Beecham enrolled upon their roster."
She makes a dignified but haughty exit. 3. Enter sweet-looking girl with retiring manner. She blushes and seems to hesitate before speaking.
"I want to speak to Madam Newberry, please." "Oh, you're the secretary, are you? Well, I want to learn to converse. You see, I stutter a little, and I thought that probably she could cure me. I've always recited a good deal, and everybody at home thinks I could go on the stage if I only did not stutter a little. I can do the balcony scene from Romeo and Juliet by Shakespeare, the one about Romeo, wherefore art thou Romeo. I played both parts when I graduated from high school, and everybody said that it was as good as Julia Marlowe. I could do the two parts for you if you want me to. Of course, if I stuttered very badly, I couldn't think of going on the stage. But I thought that Madam Newberry might cure me in a month or so. Oh, yes, I have been to a school of stuttering. I was there a year, but I didn't like the method there. You don't think she could cure me if a regular doctor couldn't? Well, I'd rather see Madam Newberry herself, if you don't mind. At 10 tomorrow? Well, I'll be in and do the balcony scene from Romeo and Juliet by Shakespeare. Goodbye.
4. Enter a very dressy young person who switches into a chair. She speaks.
"This is a school of acting, isn't it? I want to take a few lessons before going on the stage." "No, I haven't studied before. That is, not much. I don't believe in studying much. It takes all the naturalness out of you. Well, I haven't decided yet just what sort of actress I'll be. I can do tragedy and comedy both. I can do the potion scene from Juliet and the sleepwalking scene from Lady Macbeth. The elocution teacher down home said he never heard anybody do the potion scene any better than I do it, and he'd heard most every great actor there is. I do a lot of other things. Do you know a play called A Woman's Wrongs? Well, it's the saddest thing you ever heard. It always makes everybody cry. I almost always cry myself when I do it. Oh, it's a grand thing. I'm just crazy about getting on the stage. Of course, my family aren't for it. They think it's awful. But if you're born for it, you might as well go ahead. I think you ought to do what you're cut out to, don't you? Everybody says it's easy to get into a good company if you come out of one of these stage schools, so I thought I'd try this one. How long do you think it would take me to get ready for the stage? 10 years? For goodness sake, do you suppose I'm going to waste 10 years getting ready? Why, in 10 years I expect to be at the head of my own company. Doesn't take long to be a star now. All you have to do is get in with some pushing manager. I have thought some of grand opera. I can sing a little. I always sang in the choir at home. We gave Esther once, and I played the lead, and everybody was crazy about it. Whenever there's a party at home, they always ask me to sing something from grand opera or the Rosary. It goes like this, you know.
She sings the Rosary, unaccompanied and wandering aimlessly from key to key.
I think I'd rather be an actress, though. You have to be so careful when you're a grand opera star. Can't eat much, nor stay up late. You don't think this school is what I want. If it's going to take you 10 years to get me ready, I'm sure of it. I just want a few months' work and then a position. I think the school ought to guarantee the position in a good company. You can't do that. Well then, that settles it. I'm sorry. I suppose I would have been a good advertisement for you. But I have to think of myself, you know. Goodbye.
She sails out. 5. Enter a small girl, overdressed, quite unaccompanied, and bearing all the marks of a stage child. She speaks.
I'm the little girl the lady came to see you about yesterday. Yes, I'm Pearl. Pearl, the child wonder. They call me on the bills. I'm a vaudeville actress, you know, but I'm out of an engagement now, so somebody told my mother I ought to go to school while we're laying off. I can, because we're flush now. 'Cause I've made good everywhere. I tell you, Pearl the child wonder gets the hand everywhere. I told her I wouldn't come to any reading, writing, arithmetic school, 'cause I hate 'em. But if I was singing and dancing and all that, I'd just as soon. Oh, I do song and dance and pieces with lightning change. Didn't you ever hear of me? For goodness sake, where have you been living? I've been touring the U.S. for 10 years. Oh, yes. They always bill me 8 years old. People like you young, you know. But, honest to goodness, I'm 12. Oh, no, I don't get tired of it. I'm used to it. It's laying off like I am now that makes me tired. That's why I'd just as soon come to your school. What are you going to teach me? I'll do a turn so you can see what I can do.
She recites Little Mabel, with her face against the pane, etc., in a sobbing voice, with very accurate gestures. Then she does the inevitable Swiss mountain song with yodel chorus, doing a sort of clog dance.
One of my hits is the Floridora Sextet.
She sings the sextet, leaping from the place where the man stands to the place where the girl stands. She does it very solemnly.
Do you know a piece called The Drunkard's Child? The first verse goes like this. A sweet child knelt at her mother's knee to say her evening prayer, when all at once a drunkard's step rang out upon the stair. There's 10 verses. It always makes 'em cry, I tell you. Then I know a lot more stuff, and dances, of course. All right, go on and tell me what you'll make me do if I stay here. Learn to speak correct? Do you mean grammar? I won't study that. I don't like that. Study real poetry? No, sir. I want funny pieces, or sad ones. I don't want no poetry. Spellin' and deportment? Well, I guess not. I ain't gonna study none of those things. If you won't teach me some new pieces and some new steps, I won't learn nothing. What's the use? I don't need none of those things in my business. I'm making good everywhere now. I guess I don't want none of your finishing school. Well, I'll be off. And break the news to Mother. So long.
Little Pearl flounces out. End of sketch 18. Sketch 19 of Modern Monologues by Marjorie Benton COOKE. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Stage directions read by Thomas Peter.
Miss Audrey Gay, read by Emma Charlotte.
Mr. John Marvel, read by Chuck Williamson.
How It Happened. Scene: Beach by moonlight. Discovered: Miss Audrey Gay, a romantic young thing. Mr. John Marvel, not so young, nor romantic. 1. She sighs.
It's lovely, isn't it? The moon on the water and everything.
By Jove, it is lovely. The moon on the water and everything.
It almost makes you want to be a poet, doesn't it? Only poets are always so poor. I know a man who writes the sweetest things about love and summer and things the newspapers, and says he doesn't make enough to keep him in shoestrings. Isn't that dreadful? Don't you think we ought to do something for our poets, Mr. Marvel?
Yes, I do. I think we ought to kill them at birth.
Oh, how dreadful! Don't you like poets, Mr. Marvel?
Can't say I do. I know too many of them. We've got an oversupply on hand. Let's talk of something interesting.
Well, what do you think is interesting?
Let's talk about you.
Oh, but I'm not.
Well, you're so pretty, you don't have to be.
Aside.
I ought to be kicked for that. By Jove, she thinks it's a compliment. Tell me what sort of thing you like.
What sort of things do you think I'd like?
Well, you see, I've only known you 3 days.
But that's a long time at a summer resort.
So it is. I suppose I ought to know your innermost thoughts by this time. Unfortunately, I've been looking at you instead of thinking about you. What are you most interested in the world?
Men, you mean?
So that's what you like best?
Embarrassed.
Oh, I didn't understand. I didn't know you meant. Well, I said I liked poetry.
So you did. What brand do you prefer?
Oh, I like Ella Wheeler Wilcox. Don't you?
Heaven forbid.
And sometimes there's lovely poetry in the Smart Set and those magazines.
Yes? Well, poetry. I've got that down as an absorbing interest. Next.
I like novels, too.
Janice Meredith and the Duchess.
She nods.
How'd you know?
How about the drama?
Oh, theatre, you mean? I love it. Did you see James K. Hackett in?
Alas, no. Theatre is 3. Now, let's have something really frivolous. Society? Dancing?
Oh, yes, I love them.
And men?
Uh-huh.
I'll tell you about your ideal. He's 6 feet tall, square-shouldered, smooth-faced, is or has been an athlete at Yale or Harvard, dances well, knows the world, none better. A trifle blasé, perhaps, but such a lady killer. About right, isn't it?
Why? How did you know? Who told you?
You did.
I? Never. I never told a soul except Polly March and Susan Reynolds.
Well, no matter. Tell me some more.
No. Now you tell me about your ideal.
Oh, no, I couldn't. It would be so embarrassing, you know.
Why?
He, with killing glance.
Why, she's so near, you know. She'd hear me.
Utter surprise.
You mean...
He nods.
I kiss the hand of my ideal.
Suits action to word.
Oh, that's a very pretty speech, but I know I'm not...
Don't you think it deserves a reward?
He kisses her.
Mr. Marvel, what do you mean? Now you've gone and spoiled it all, and I thought you were so nice.
I am, really. But you did look so adorable, you know.
Well, come on.
Where?
Home, of course. I can't ever walk on the beach with you again, because you're so silly.
He, with faint smile.
Out of the mouths of babes. I agree with you entirely, Miss Audrey, and I'll apologize all the way home. I'll go the entire way on my knees, if you like.
They walk away briskly. 2. Scene. Hotel porch. Miss Audrey Gay meets her best friend, Polly March.
Hello, Polly. How are you this morning? Yes, it's a great day for our sale, isn't it? Oh, yes, I'm going, aren't you? Who? Mr. Marvel? Why, I don't know. I suppose he is. Thought I wouldn't go without him? Why, Polly March, what do you mean? You were where? On the beach? Last night? Well, what if you were? Saw us?
Excitedly.
Polly, you didn't see him? Oh, Polly, you didn't. Who were you with? Not that Hudson man? Oh, dear, he'll tell everybody. I may as well tell you the truth about it. Polly March, come over here and sit down. Now, give me your word of honour. Cross your heart and hope to die if you ever breathe a word I'm going to tell you. Of course, Mamma would be furious if it ever got out. Well, you see, Polly, it was like this. We were walking on the beach and we sat down to rest. Mr. Marvel didn't say anything for a long time, but he sighed and looked at me so sadly. You know how sort of oldish and interesting he looks. And so I asked him why he sighed. He said it was because I reminded him of someone he had loved and lost. And then he told me about her. He was engaged to her, and she had hair and eyes like mine. That's why he likes me. Her name was Evangeline. Isn't that romantic? They used to sit on the beach together. And Polly, he talked so beautifully, and he forgot all about me. He just looked off over the water and whispered, Evangeline. And then he leaned over and kissed me. I never was so surprised in my life. And then all at once he came to, and, my dear, I never saw a man feel so terribly about anything. He couldn't say enough. He had just forgotten all about me and dreamed he was with Evangeline. What could I do? He was so pathetic, and I felt so sorry for him. But, of course, I scolded him dreadfully. You think it was mean of me? Well, I had to. I don't know, though. Perhaps you are right. After all, it wasn't me he kissed. It was Evangeline. There goes the crowd down to the pier. We'd better hurry if we're going. Now, remember, Polly, not a word to a living soul.
They rush off. 3. Scene: Hotel porch. Marvel meets Hudson.
How are you, Hudson? Great day, isn't it? The Penta ought to make good time with this wind. What's that? Did I have a pleasant evening? Why, yes, fairly. What are you driving at? Saw me... What? Where were you? You old blackguard. What were you hanging around for? Why didn't you whistle? Anybody with you? Not that March girl. Good Gad! She'll spread the good news.
Takes him by the arm and walks him.
Well, look here, old man. It was like this. You see, Miss Gay and I had a bet up. A bull pup against a kiss. And, you see, I won. Of course, it was all a joke, but I was brute enough to make her pay up. You know how these things are. Huh? Now, of course, it would be rather nasty for the girl if it got about, so I can depend on you to keep it dark, can't I? Much obliged. And say, shut Miss March up, can't you? I'll appreciate it very much indeed. Little Miss Gay is a nice sort of child, don't you know? Not too much brain, nor anything of that sort, but I wouldn't have her made uncomfortable about the affair, you know. Look, they're pulling up the sails on the Penta. We'd better be off. There go the girls now. I say, Miss Gay! Miss March! Wait a minute!
They hurry off. 4. Scene: Hotel porch, at night. Marvel joins Miss Gay.
May I speak to you a minute?
They walk to and fro.
I suppose you know it's all over the hotel.
That's what I wanted to speak to you about.
I don't think speaking will do you any good.
I can't imagine who told it.
She, hotly.
Well, I can tell you. It was that Hudson man who's such a dear friend of yours.
I beg your pardon. It was the March girl, your chum.
You're mistaken. She gave me her word of honor.
Hudson gave me his. But that's not the point. I acted badly. I know it. I've gotten you into a scrape, and I want to get you out.
Well, after that bet story you told, I don't see how you expect.
How about Evangeline?
Well, I had to tell something.
So did I. Do you think it would help out if we announced our engagement? We could make it just as temporary as you like. Of course, I have no particular desire to marry just now, so I would wish it to be a temporary thing. But if it would help you out, why, of course, I'm a little older than you are, and no doubt you would not care to marry me. But if, having clearly understood the situation, we entered into an agreement...
Great Scott, I never heard such amiable condescension in all my life. Do you think I'd announce my engagement, temporary or otherwise, to a man of your age? Why, you're old enough to be my father. Besides, I have no particular desire to marry just now, and if I had, well, it wouldn't be to a man who hates poetry and novels and all the things I like. And as for a man who has to trump a story about bets, to excuse himself for wilfully kissing a girl on a moonlit night, well, I have my opinion of such a craven churl. Do you remember my Idyl, which you described so perfectly last night on the beach. Well, it may interest you to know that he's a real man. His name is Bob Crandall, the famous Yale Centre, and I've been engaged to him for a year. I don't believe he'd care about any temporary engagements with old gentlemen. Well, good night. I hope you'll have better luck next time.
She strolls off, laughing. End of sketch 19.
Sketch 20 of Modern Monologues by Marjorie Benton COOKE. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Stage directions read by Nemo.
Mother, read by Emma Charlotte.
Jimmy, read by Nemo.
Molly, read by Eva Davis.
Sketch 20, When Morning Breaks. Scene, nursery, morning. Discovered, Jimmy and Molly asleep. Enter Mother. Mother.
Come, chickens, come. It's time to get up. Breakfast in 10 minutes. Let us see who can beat getting dressed this morning.
Molly.
Is it tomorrow?
Yes, dear. Now hurry.
Exit Mother.
Jimmy, get up. It's tomorrow.
Aw, it is not. You're always waking me up to say it's tomorrow when it ain't.
Well, it is, 'cause Mama said so.
Mama?
Yes, when she came to say get up.
Did Mama come in here?
Why, course.
I didn't hear her. Did she? Honest Injun?
Cross my heart and hope to die, and we have to hurry up. It's cold.
First one that gets to the register can have it all to himself to get dressed on. Wild rush for the register. I'm first.
You were not. I had my foot on first, and you shoved me.
Aw, get out. I was on before you got started.
Well, I don't want any anyhow. It ain't so very cold. Besides, there ain't any heat coming up.
Say, Moll, hand me my clothes, will you?
What'll you do if I will?
Well, I'll give you half the register.
All right. Now move over, Jimmy. That ain't half.
Bet I'll beat getting on stockings.
Bet you don't. There.
Aw, you got it on hindsight of 4. That's the heel, you big goose.
Poor Mary. Did I get your clothes on wrong?
What makes you call that foot Mary?
'Cause that's her name. And the other one's name is John.
Mine's name's ain't. Mine's name's is Maud S. and Heather Bloom. I bet mine can beat yours. Say, Moll, I'll beat you washing.
Well, you don't wash nice. Mama said so. You just wash a weenty bit in the middle, and I go all round. And neck, too, sometimes.
No use my washing my neck when Mama's always doing it. I know boys at school that don't never have necks done. Never.
Not nice ones. Nice ones always has their necks did.
Yesterday the teacher said, Solomon Godowski, when did you have your hands washed? And he said, last Wednesday. And she made him go right out and wash them.
I know a girl that never has her hair done. Not never.
If I had old long hair like yours, I'd cut it off.
Jimmy, if I did cut it off, would I be a boy then, like you?
Yep. Kind of.
Would I be your brother then?
Yep. Kind of.
And would you play with me? Tag and I Spy and everything?
Sometimes I would.
Would I be in your gang?
Yep. Kind of.
Well, I will. Here's some scissors. Now you cut it off.
Say, you'd better not. Mama'll be mad.
No, I'm going to be a boy and go in your gang.
You'll get a licking if you do.
I don't care if I do, 'cause I want to be a boy and play and not have to practice and not have to be a lady.
James promptly begins to snip. Enter Mother.
James Baker, what are you doing?
He's cutting off my hair so I'll be a boy in his gang, and he'll play with me all the time and not tease me.
James, I have the greatest notion on earth to give you a good whipping.
Well, she made me.
That's a nice thing for a great big boy to say about his little sister. She made me.
Mother, can't I have my hair cut off and be a boy?
My precious baby, that wouldn't make you a boy. And what would Mother do without her girlie? I wouldn't have her change for all the boys in the universe.
The girls have to be so nice and get hurted and teased, and boys don't. I want to be a boy, Mother.
Mother gathers her into her arms.
My blessed baby, you're learning the lesson of feminine limitations very young. Come, Jimmy, never mind the necktie until after breakfast. Come along, Ladybird.
End of sketch 20. Sketch 21 of Modern Monologues by Marjorie Benton COOKE. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Stage directions read by Nemo.
Mother, read by Emma Charlotte.
Molly, read by Eva Davis.
Jimmy, read by Nemo. Sketch 21. Who's Afraid? It is bedtime for Molly and Jimmy Baker, and Mama is tucking them into their 2 little beds. Mama.
Now, lie still, Molly dear, and don't kick the covers off.
Molly.
Mama, will you leave a little teensy-weensy light burning tonight?
Why, I expect so. Daddy and I will be just downstairs. If you are frightened, you can call.
Jimmy. She's the biggest fraidy cat.
Now, James, none of that. I want no quarrelling nor talking. I want you to go straight to sleep.
Mama turns the light low, kisses them, and goes out.
I wish Susie Jones's mother was my mother. She leaves the light going full tilt every night. Susie told me so.
I bet she does not. Susie's the biggest storyteller in the world, next to you.
Why, I'm not a storyteller, Jimmy Baker.
You are, too, and you're a tattletale.
I am not. I am not.
Shh. Do you want Mama to come up here and whip you? Silence for a while.
Jimmy, will you tell me a story?
No, I'm going to sleep. What do you give me if I do?
I'll give you
Will you give me your new jumping rope?
Oh, Jimmy, not my new one. I'll give you my old one. It's most as good. It's better than my new one.
No, I want the new one, with the handles to make harness with.
Oh, Jimmy.
Well, now you don't have to if you don't want to.
Well, I will. But you won't tell one with bears in it, will you?
You big fraidy cat. Who's afraid? Jimmy gets up on his elbow and begins. Once upon a time, there was a boy that lived in, Chicago. And one day, he was sassy to his father, and he up and runned away.
His father did?
No, of course not. The boy did. If you're going to interrupt, I ain't a-going to tell it. He didn't like Chicago much anyway, 'cause he had to go to school there. So he just up and walked off to New York. And when he got to New York, there was a pirate ship there at New York, and he got right on and went off to sea. All the pirates was black and big as, they was awful big.
How big? Big as Papa?
Big as Papa? Why, they was giantses. and every pirate had a carving knife and a gun and a revolver.
What for?
Why, to kill people with, you silly. When they found the little boy was on the ship, they hauled him out and licked him with the end of a rope.
Is that worse than the back of a brush?
Aw, lots worse. But the little boy didn't yell none. When they licked him, he didn't yell none. So they made him the captain of the ship, 'cause he didn't yell none. And he said that they'd go to Cupid and fight the Philippines, and they did. But while they was going there, a big shark.
What's a shark?
Don't you know what a shark is? Why, it's a big fish, as big as 5 elephants, with a mouth as big as this whole house, and teeth as long as from here to the corner. And if it wanted to, it could swallow all the houses in this block.
Jimmy, can I get into your bed?
Now, don't interrupt. When the shark saw the pirate ship, he just swum right up and gobbled the ship down.
And the little boy?
And the little boy. But he didn't chew it none, 'cause it was such a big mouthful. And when the boy got in the old shark's insides, he just tickled him on his insides, and the old shark coughed him up.
Why, Jimmy Baker.
Don't you believe that? That's in the Bible. And as soon as the boy got out, he began swimming and swimming and swimming. Oh, he was just swimming for 2 months.
Without nothing to eat.
Oh, he ate fishes. And pretty soon, when he was swimming along, he came to a beautiful island, and he went right up on it, and there was a beautiful princess.
What did she have on?
She had on a yellow curls and a crown and pink tights, like the girl at the circus. When she saw the boy, she said that if he'd kill all the bears on the island, she'd marry him, and he'd be a king or something. So he said he would, and he waited till it was most dark, and then he built a fire.
But where was the princess?
She was in to supper, of course. He made a fire, and then pretty soon he saw great big shining eyes, and a great big mouth that went, "Woo, woo."
Jimmy, what's that over in the corner? It's got fiery eyes.
Where? I don't see anything. He takes a cautious peep.
It's a moving. It's a coming after us. It's a bear. Mama, Mama.
Mama! Mama! End of section 21.
Sketch 22 of Modern Monologues by Marjorie Benton COOKE. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Stage directions and Mrs. Martin, read by Linda Olsen Fitak. The Optimist. Scene, drawing room. Discovered, Mrs. Howard and a caller, Mrs. Martin. Mrs. Martin. Yes, it is nice weather today, but as I said to Mr. Martin this morning, we might as well make up our minds to a rainy month. March is the vilest month in this climate. I always dread it so. I just know I'll have a relapse and get the grip again. Oh, yes, I've been sick with it for weeks, and I'm just able to get out again. I always have things so much harder than anyone else. I haven't any strength or appetite, and I just know a rainy spell will set in and put me in bed again. No, I never do borrow trouble, but I think it's well to be prepared for anything. No, my dear, now don't think of making tea on my account. I couldn't swallow a drop. I don't eat a thing, not a thing. Your husband's been sick too, hasn't he? Threatened with pneumonia? Dear me, so many have died with it this winter, haven't they? I was threatened with it too, but I fought it off. I think there's so much in willpower, don't you?
He's out again. Well, that must be a great relief to you. Yes, sugar and lemon in mine. Takes her tea. Have you seen Mrs. Matthews since she lost her husband? Well, from the way she takes on, you'd think he had been a saint. You know he was a perfect terror. We used to live next door to them, and I know. Why, he used to swear at her. But dear me, she's forgotten all about it now. Some women are that way, you know. Just a little more, my dear. It's so nice. And one wafer. Takes more tea. Did you hear about that Sangster girl? Oh, didn't you? She eloped with a patent medicine man. Of course, I make it a point never to criticize anyone, but I always said that girl would come to some bad end. She was always laughing and carrying on. Never could take anything seriously. No, they say he's rich as Rockefeller, but then, you never can tell. People do say such things. Just a little bit more, my dear, with sugar. Yes, I will have a wafer. They are so small. Takes more tea. I heard that Frank Staunton was going into business for himself. Of course, it's none of my business, but I should think he'd never dare to make any change with that flighty wife on his hands. Extravagant! Why, I've seen her with 3 different hats on this spring. And flirtatious. You'd better keep your eye on her, my dear. I heard her say that she simply adored your husband. Goodness, I shouldn't think you'd ever have a moment's peace with such a handsome husband on your hands. We were talking about it the other day, and saying how strange it was that handsome men always marry plain women. Just one more cup. No. Yes, I will have another wafer. Takes more tea. Did you hear about the new baby at the Dixons? No, a girl. Yes, that's 4. Of course, I don't want to say anything disagreeable, but I think the law ought to take children away from that sort of mother. Devoted mother? Mrs. Dixon? Why, my dear, she bathes a 3-month baby in almost cold water, and lets it sleep on the porch in the winter-time. And she puts it to bed at 8 o'clock, just like a grown person, turns down the light and leaves it. Never rocks it, nor walks with it. Well, all I've got to say is that was not called devoted when I was a young married woman. Well, just 1 drop more, and 1 wafer. Takes more tea. I must go. I want to be home when Mr. Martin comes. I feel sure that he is coming down with something dreadful. He looked so strange this morning. So many businessmen are dropping off these days. No, dear, no more. I'm sorry I couldn't do justice to your tea, but I can't touch a thing. Goodbye. Do come see me. I'll run in again and cheer you up. I hope your husband will come around all right. Adieu. Exit. End of sketch 22. End of Modern Monologues by Marjorie Benton COOKE.